Township of Lopatcong regular meeting for April 7th, 2021. I would ask that everyone bow their head for a moment of silence, please. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. This meeting is being held over Zoom and is being recorded. There is no in-person meeting. All members of the Township Council, Township professionals, staff, and members of the public are attending over Zoom or telephone. This meeting is being held in accordance with Resolution 21-40 regulating remote meetings. All members of the public will be muted by the meeting host during the business portion of the meeting. The host will unmute members of the public both on Zoom and on the telephone during the 2 public comments and any public hearings in which members of the public are invited to comment. We ask that you keep yourself muted until you wish to speak. For those participating via Zoom, the chat function should not be used for public comment or to communicate with the council or other meeting participants. The chat function is only to be used to report technical difficulties such as an inability to unmute yourself during public comment. The chat conversation is being recorded and is considered a public record. Any written comments submitted to the township in advance of this meeting will be read aloud in the meeting at the appropriate time.
Okay, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided indicating the time and place of the meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising a notice in the Star Gazette and the Express Times and by posting a copy on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Have a roll call, please.
Councilman Belcaro,
Here.
Councilman Polito,
Here.
Councilman Wright,
Here.
Council President Pryor,
Here.
Mayor Mengucci.
Here. Need a motion to come out of executive session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council was in executive session for approximately 1 hour. The topics of discussion were, as listed on your agenda, attorney-client privilege, Delaware Crossing rent control letter, 2, personnel employee manual, and also 3, litigation, bridge, and Pritchett lawsuits. The minutes from executive session will be available at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. In addition, we have 1 additional item to add to the agenda under number 7 of the consent agenda, adopt revised personnel policy manual employee handbook.
Public comment.
Yeah, so at this time, we're going to take public comment on agenda items. I have a brief instructions to read. At this time, the council will take comments from the public on agenda items only. There will be a time at the end of the meeting at which the council will take comments on any other matter. Also, this is not the time to make comments on Ordinance 21-02. There will be a specific public hearing a little later in the meeting, at which time public comment will be taken regarding the adoption of Ordinance 21-02. Council asks that you hold comments regarding 21-02 during the until the designated public hearing. If you wish to make a comment, if you are on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function. If you are on the telephone, press *9. The host will call on members of the public one at a time and unmute you as she calls on you. Once we have gone through anyone who has raised their hand or hit *9, we will then unmute everyone and ask one more time in case we missed anyone. If you are having technical difficulties and want to alert the host, you may do so over the chat function, but do not make your comment over chat unless directed to do so. Do not use the chat function to chat amongst the other participants. Before we begin this public comment, I will ask the clerk if the council received any written comments related to agenda items other than Ordinance 2102. Beth?
Nothing has been received.
Okay. So at this time, if you wish to make a public comment, use the raise your hand function or *9.
Agenda items only.
Agenda items only. Webmaster, do you see any people with their hands raised?
So far, no.
Okay.
I do not.
Okay. So at this point, Lori, can you unmute everyone so we can ask in case anyone was having technical difficulties?
Sure. Hold on. More. Hold on.
Yep.
Nobody's unmuted themselves, so I just asked everybody.
Okay. So if someone's having technical difficulties, there is another public comment on any items at the end of the meeting, so you'll also be able to comment at that time. You can
Okay.
move on to old business.
Okay, under old business, number one are the minutes for the March 3rd, 2021 executive and regular session. If anybody has any questions or comments, gentlemen, let me know now. If not, I'll need a motion to pass that.
Motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Beth? Beth Lewis.
Hold on, where's Beth? Hold on. I'm sorry. She's got so many computers here.
Yep.
Which one is she under?
She's on the telephone.
Okay. It looks like she's unmuted, but
I
Beth,
think
what-
this one's her.
Can you hear us, Beth?
hold on. What's the code to unmute? Because if she's on the phone. Hold on.
It's *9. Beth hit *9. There she is.
It's
Okay.
*6.
Okay,
Oh,
thanks. You're good.
All right, so you can hear
Councilman
me.
Alfaro,
Lou on number one, yes or no?
Yes.
Councilman Polito,
Yes.
Councilman Wright, he's muted or something.
I know. He has to unmute himself. There you
There
go.
we go. Now it's done. Yes.
Council President Pryor,
Yes.
Mayor McGinty.
Yes. We're gonna flip 2 and 3. I'm gonna read 3 first. It's resolution number 21-47, reasons of support for ordinance 21-02.
So I would do a first and a second, and then I'll read it into the record.
So I need a motion on
A
it.
motion.
I have a motion on resolution number 21-47.
I think Mr. Pryor made the motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second it.
Okay. A draft resolution 2147 is available on the township website and was posted there in advance of this meeting. 2 exhibits that are referenced in this resolution, the TIE 2006 High Q Warehouse Vehicle Trip Analysis and the Warren County Light Industrial Site Assessment Report of September 2020, are appended to the resolution and are available on the township website and were posted there in advance of the meeting. I'm now going to read this entire resolution into the record, and I ask that you bear with me. It is 9 pages long. A resolution articulating the Township Council's reasons for adopting ordinance 2102 as inconsistent with the land use element of the Township Master Plan and Reexamination Report pursuant to NJSA 40:44D-62. Whereas the Township of Lopatcong Planning Board, hereinafter referred to as Planning Board, has adopted a master plan with a land use element and subsequent master plan reexamination reports, herein collectively referred to as master plan. And whereas the Township Council of the Township of Lopatcong, herein referred to as council, has enacted the Lopatcong zoning and land use ordinance, hereinafter referred to as zoning ordinance, affecting the master plan. And whereas the zoning ordinance provides for warehouse and distribution centers as permitted uses within the township ROM research office and management zone at section 243-75A2. And whereas the zoning ordinance provides for, quote, flexible office warehouse uses, end quote, as permitted in the township's PD plan development overlay district at section 243-77.3 C1C. And whereas on March 3rd, 2021, the council introduced and passed on first reading ordinance 21-02, said ordinance eliminating, quote, warehouse and distribution centers, end quote, and, quote, flexible office warehouse uses, end quote, as permitted uses within the township's ROM research office and manufacturing zone and PD planned development overlay district. And whereas pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-64, the council referred ordinance 21-02 to the planning board for review. Whereas at this meeting of March 24th, 2021, the planning board reviewed ordinance 21-02 in accordance with NJSA 40:55D-26 and found same to be inconsistent with the master plan without further recommendation and memorialized its findings. And whereas the council wishes to adopt ordinance 21-02 as introduced. And whereas NJSA 40:55D-62 requires the council set forth its reasons for so acting in a resolution recording in its minutes when adopting an ordinance that is inconsistent with the master plan, any classification change. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Lopatcong in the County of Warren in the state of New Jersey that it hereby adopts the following reasons for adopting ordinance 21-02. Number one, e-commerce and the accompanying demand for high cube warehouses and distribution centers hereinafter referred to as uses of concern are a fairly recent and rapid growing phenomenon within supply chain logistics. Number two, the Institute for Transportation Engineers, ITE, 2016 high cube warehouse vehicle trip analysis defines high cube warehouses as, quote, a building that typically has at least 200,000 gross square feet of floor area, has a ceiling height of 24 feet or more, and is used primarily for storage and or consolidation of manufactured goods, and to the lesser extent, raw materials prior to their distribution to retail locations and other warehouses. A typical HCW has a high level of on-site automation and logistics management. The automation and logistics enable highly efficient processing of goods throughout the HCW. For the purpose of this trip generation analysis, HCWs are grouped into 5 types: fulfillment centers, parcel hubs, cold storage facilities, transload facilities, and short-term storage facilities. Number 3, these uses of concern are substantially different from traditional warehouse uses. Uses of concern generally require greater land area for development, have significant height requirements, greater floor area ratios, and incur more frequent vehicle trip generation than has been associated with traditional warehousing. Such uses of concern are also generally multi-tenant structures, allowing for simultaneous use of varied uses of concern. Number 4, high cube warehouses, sub-uses, such fulfillment centers, parcel hubs, cold storage facilities, transload facilities, and storage term facilities each have variable traffic generation. However, whether a single use or a combination of sub-uses, high cube warehousing creates significant trip generation. As noted by the Institute of Traffic Engineers, the HCW market continues to evolve as individual tenants/owners implement different e-commerce business plans. For example, some deliver goods to the customers within 2 days, and others deliver orders to the nearest store for customer pickup. As business plans and technology continue to evolve, these should continue to be monitored. Although the tenant or its planned operations are often unknown at the time of site development review, for the purpose of establishing vehicle trip generation, it may be as important to know the tenant as much as other facility factors. The ITE reports the weighted average rates for daily trip at high cube warehouses as follows. And there's a chart that follows that. The reported weight average rates at AM peak hour trips at high cube warehouses are, a chart follows. The reported weight average rates for PM peak hour trips at high cube warehouses are, chart follows. Number 5, as found by the Warren County Light Industrial Assessment Report of September 9th, 2020, hereinafter referred to as County Report, Warren County and municipalities such as Lopatcong are strategic locations for uses of concern because of the proximity to Interstate 78 and 80. Large areas available for development currently zoned industrial development and location to metropolitan areas and other regions. Number 6, the county report identified over 4,000 acres of potential development with over 45 million square feet of potential industrial development. The county report concluded that such development will cause substantial increase in auto and truck traffic and have major impacts on the road networks, and further concluded that roadway level of service would deteriorate to unacceptable conditions at most analyzed intersections and mainline segments of County Route 519, as is a road that traverses Lopatcong Township and intersects with Strikers Road. Number 8, the township's current ROM zone allows a building height of 60 feet, coverage of 65%, and allowable floor area ratio of 30%. These criteria were developed with the goal of attracting large data centers with minimal traffic impact. Demand for high cube warehouses and uses of concern and their associated required level of road service and traffic impact were not foreseen at the time of the adoption of the township master plans and zoning ordinance. Number 9, recent redevelopment activity and approvals for development under existing permitted uses in the township have resulted in the development of the Ingersoll Rand tract and 3 large projects in the ROM zone along Strikers Road. Number 10, over 2 million square feet of high cube warehousing is under construction on the Phillipsburg portion of the former Ingersoll Rand tract, which shares a boundary with the Township of Lopatcong on 2 sides. Number 11, Lopatcong Township has recently approved 2 high cube warehouses totaling just under 1.5 million square feet, which were either complete or under construction. Number 12, it is estimated that undeveloped or underdeveloped acreage within the ROM district along Strikers Road could accommodate as much as 1.6 million additional square feet of high cube warehouse development. Based upon the lowest traffic generating high cube facility category, the ITE statistics suggest that the aforementioned potential for additional high cube warehouse development along Strikers Road alone would result in 2,291 additional daily trips, of which 726 would be attributable to trucks. During AM peak hours, approximately 131 additional trips would be generated, of which 38 are truck trips, and during PM peak hours, approximately 173 additional trips would be generated, of which 37 would be truck trips. The trip generation increases based upon other categories of high cube warehousing. Based upon the highest generating high cube facility category, the ITE statistics suggest that the aforementioned potential and additional high cube warehousing development would result in approximately 17,020 additional daily trips, of which 6,411 would be attributable to trucks along Strikers Road alone. For this category of high cube warehousing during AM peak hours, approximately 1,362 additional trips would be generated, of which 677 are truck trips, and during PM peak hours, approximately 1,285 additional trips would be generated, of which 376 would be truck trips. Number 14, redevelopment status has been requested at the site of the nearly vacant Phillipsburg Mall. If approved, that would result in another 483,000 square feet of high cube warehousing in the Township of Lopatcong. Number 15, it is the judgment of the council that the townships and the surrounding area's road system is not adequate to provide the level of service necessary to support further growth of uses of concern, even at the lowest traffic generating category of high cube warehouse. It is the judgment of the council that the traffic and truck trip generation associated with further uses of concerns would have a substantial and detrimental impact on the local traffic and service levels of the township roads. Number 16, the township's 2012 master plan reexamination report requires a, quote, balanced approach between residential and non-residential development, end quote. Number 17, in addition to the traffic concern, it is the judgment of the council that high floor to ceiling distances allowed by our current zoning require significant alteration of the existing landscape and have a tremendous visual impact. The architecture tends to be repetitive and monotonous, and that an abundance of high cube warehouses in a concentrated area will result in a densely developed neighborhood lacking in interest and character. This is inconsistent with the purposes of the municipal land use law in regard to light, air, open space, and visual environment, and in the council's judgment, not a balanced approach between residential and non-residential development. Number 18, moreover, the township is approaching its contractual capacity under the intermunicipal sewerage agreement with the town of Phillipsburg, and certain areas within the ROM zone are not within the township's wastewater management plan dated January 30th, 2012, and prepared by the state of New Jersey's Highland Water Protection and Planning Council in support of Lopatcong Township's approved petition for plan conformance and the Water Quality Management Planning Rules, NJAC 7:15, which require that, quote, no further extensions of the future sewer service area will be approved in the Lopatcong Township Wastewater Management Plan, absent proof that sufficient capacity exists for such extensions after consideration of all planned and potential flows within the Highland Center, and approval of the Highlands Council of a map adjustment, extension of the Highland Center, or a public health or safety waiver, end quote. Number 19, in council's judgment, Ordinance 21-02 will help assure that the local transportation routes will continue to promote free flow of traffic. Limiting the development of warehouse and distribution centers that generate large volumes of trucks will mitigate congested roads and promote their safe and efficient operation. Number 20, in the council's judgment, ordinance 21-02 will limit the further rapid development of warehouse and distribution centers within Lopatcong Township so as not to conflict with the development and general welfare of the neighboring municipalities through which increased volumes of truck traffic must pass to reach major highways and interstate transportation routes. Number 21, in the council's judgment, the ordinance 21-02 will protect the quality of life for the established residents, neighbors that adjoin the industrial zone lands of the township. The 24-hour, 7-day-a-week character of the warehouses and distribution centers operation and the increased truck traffic on county and local roads will significantly increase noise levels, reduce air quality, and increase ambient lights in the adjoining residential neighborhood. It is the council's judgment that the manifold permitted use remaining in the affected zones district provide appropriate development opportunities that are consistent with the intent of the ROM and PD zones. Districts. Number 22, in the council's judgment, ordinance 21-02 will promote a desirable visual environment by limiting further development of warehouses and distribution centers that are comprised of massive windowless buildings with great height, length, and width from dominating the field of view while allowing a mix of building types in varying sizes, differing heights, and facades to persist within the industrial zoned areas. Number 23, in the council's judgment, ordinance 21-02 will help to protect and conserve the trout production waters of the Lopatcong Creek and the dry run watersheds from the threat proposed by the reduction of water quality caused by the stormwater runoff from large expanses of buildings and paved surfaces associated with warehouses and distribution centers. Be it further resolved that these reasons shall be spread upon the council's minutes contemporaneously with the adoption of ordinance 21-02. That's the end of the ordinance. At this point, if you'd like to take a vote.
All right. Do I have a motion on resolution number 21-47?
We do. We have a motion by Council President Pryor and a second by you, Mayor. So I'll just roll call it.
Yes.
Councilman Belcaro? I think he's muted.
He is. I'm trying to unmute him. There we go.
Councilman Belcaro?
Yes.
Excuse
Councilman,
me, just so we don't mess this up, did I make a motion on this? I don't
You did.
recall. Pardon me?
You did.
Verbally.
Yes.
All right. It was so long, maybe I don't remember.
Councilman Polito?
Is he muted too? What's with these guys? He's muted.
He gave a
Yes.
thumbs up.
Yes, I can.
Okay, there
I'm muted.
All right.
I hear-
Give a yes.
Yeah, we hear.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Council President Pryor?
Yes,
Mayor Mengucci?
Yes. Okay. Number 2 is ordinance number 21-02, second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 21-02, entitled Ordinance of the Township of Lopatcong, County of Warren, State of New Jersey, to amend and revise Chapter 243 of the Lopatcong Township Code entitled Zoning and Land Use, and more specifically, to delete sections 243-75A2 and 243-77.3 C1C to remove warehouse and distribution centers from the ROM zone and to remove flexible office warehouse uses within the PD zone of the township.
If you want to open it to,
I need a motion to go to public hearing.
Motion.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
so at this time, I'm going to quickly read the ordinance into the record. It is much shorter, I promise. It is only 2 pages long, and then I will give you the instructions for public hearing. So I'm going to skip the introduction, the title, which the mayor just read, and I'll get right into the whereas. Whereas the Township Council of the Township of Lopatcong previously introduced Ordinance 20-12, which sought to amend and revise Section 23-75A2 and 243-77.3 C1C of the Township Zoning Ordinance to remove warehouse and distribution centers from the ROM zone and flexible office warehouse uses from the PD zone. And whereas said ordinance was introduced on November 4th, 2020, with second reading and public hearing held on to be held on December 2nd, 2020, which hearing was adjourned and held a public meeting of the Township Council on December 28th, 2020. And whereas the council did on December 28th, 2020, adopt said ordinance as well as adopted a resolution articulating the Township Council's reason for adopting that ordinance, which was determined to be inconsistent with the land use element of the Township Master Plan, which resolution was 2020-156. And whereas certain property owners and potential developers filed complaints in the Superior Court of New Jersey Law Division, Warren County, and a complaint in the U.S. District Court, District of New Jersey, alleging that the adoption of aforesaid ordinance was procedurally deficient as well as substantively deficient, and sought relief in validating said ordinance. And whereas the complaint instituted by Bridge Acquisition LLC and Lopatcong Solar Realty Holding LLC, a temporary restraining order was issued by the court, restraining the township from taking any action under Ordinance 20-12. And whereas the council for the township did petition the court to dissolve or amend said temporary restraining order in order to permit the township council to take corrective remedial action pursuant to NJSA 10-4-15A. And whereas the court issued an opinion that the township is permitted to take such action. And whereas the township has taken the position with reference to the litigation filed that said ordinance was acted in accordance with proper procedure and sufficient substantive reasoning. And whereas the township wishes to avail itself of the statute to correct any of the alleged procedural defects pursuant to NJSA 10:4-15A, which, if this ordinance is adopted, will reaffirm the action taken by council in adoption of Ordinance 20-12. Now, therefore, for the reasons set forth in Resolution 21-47, be it ordained by the Township Council of the Township of Lopatcong, County of Warren, State of New Jersey, that Chapter 243 of the Lopatcong Township Code, entitled Zoning and Land Use, is amended and revised as follows. Section 243-75 ROM Research Office and Manufacturing Zone subsection A shall be amended to delete subsection 2, which reads warehouse and distribution centers. And section 243-77.3 PD Plan Development Overlay District subsection C use regulations subsection 1 principal uses shall be amended to delete subsection C, which reads as followed: flexible ordinance / warehouse uses, provided that no building is located within 400 feet of the right of way of US Route 22. That is the entirety of the ordinance. This ordinance is also was sent to everyone within 200 feet. Along with a notice, along with a copy of the zoning map. It's been available on the township website in advance of this meeting, and it is currently available on the township website if anyone would like to see it. So before we have public hearing on Ordinance 21-02, I have to read this. At this time, the council will take comments on questions from the public related to the adoption of Ordinance 21-02. If you wish to be heard during public hearing, if you are on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function. If you are on the telephone, please press *9. The host will call on members of the public one at a time and unmute you as she calls on you. Once we have gone through anyone who's raised their hand, we will ask again in case we missed anyone. If you feel you are having technical difficulties and want to alert the host, that you may do so over the chat function, but do not make your comment over the chat function unless directed to do so. Do not use the chat function to chat amongst other participants. Just a reminder that the chat function should only be used to alert the host if you're experiencing technical difficulties, should not be used to make public comment or chat amongst other participants. Before we begin the public hearing, I will ask the clerk if the council received any written comments, either in email or through the mail, related to Ordinance 21-02. Beth?
I have received nothing.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, folks, you're on.
You
I would
ready?
ask you to
Okay.
give us your
I
name
have,
and your address, please.
Okay. I have Matthew Fioravanti. I am it.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Matthew Fioravanti. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Giordano, Hallard, and Ciesla, representing NFI Real Estate LLC, which is a proposed developer of property located in the 6. I would like to present Andrew Janu, a professional planner to address the proposed ordinance 21-02, subject to whatever time restrictions that the council may have. So if that's acceptable, I would offer Mr. Janu at this time.
We will allow him 5 minutes, please.
5 minutes.
Okay. Mr. Janu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Janu. Can you set forth your professional qualifications for the council before we get started?
Certainly. I am a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, as well as a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in civil engineering from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, currently serving as the planner for the borough of Carteret in Middlesex County, Township of Livingston in Essex County, as redevelopment planner for the communities of South Amboy, Keyport, Plainsboro, Toms River, and Flemington. I have been qualified as an expert in land use planning and redevelopment by the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey, and I frequently lecture on the matter as an adjunct professor at Monmouth University. Again, I've been qualified by communities throughout the state of New Jersey, representing both public and private clients.
Thank you, Mr. Janu. I would offer Mr. Janu as an expert in the field of professional planning. And Mr. Janu, have you had the opportunity to review ordinance 21-02?
Yes, in preparation for this evening, I've reviewed the ordinance. I've also reviewed the text of resolution 2147. Have reviewed the master plan and subsequent reexamination reports of the township, and as well as reviewed the 2018 planning report prepared on behalf of Lopatcong Township by Ruggiero Plant Land Design, which was authorized as a study for the Township Highlands Center as a prerequisite to drafting the Lopatcong's Highlands Center ordinance, as well as NJSA 4055D62, which pertains to the adoption of ordinances.
Have you reached a professional opinion as to whether or not the ordinance is consistent with the land use plan element of the township's master plan?
I have, as the
And
board.
just give us the benefit of that, what your opinion is.
Certainly. As the board has alluded, that there's a recognition that the planning board has declared that this ordinance is inconsistent with the goals and objectives of the master plan. And as such, the MLUL mandates that in the absence of finding of a consistency determination with an articulated land use objective, the governing body must clearly and concisely place its reasonings on the record, and the basis for the change must have a strong foundation. The typical process starts with a master plan reexamination, wherein changing conditions are identified and the township's professionals undertake studies to determine the best course of action, with any modifications to the land use ordinance stipulated within recommendations directed to the planning board and governing body. This governing body elected to forego that process, instead accepted the findings of inconsistency by the board without further action through professionals, and is placing significant reliance upon perceived traffic concerns cited from interpretations of the 9th edition of the ITE Trip Generation Manual, which has a single rating for fulfillment centers, and on that basis is eliminating an entire use category. As I mentioned, the 9th edition of the ITE has one sampling, and that was proven to be an outlier because the ITE subsequently published a 10th edition, which was not referenced within your resolution, but had an expanded sampling group with significantly different conclusions. The typical process would start with a review of such published data and then proceed with a drill down on local conditions. We are not aware of any localized traffic studies authorized by this governing body or any further analysis, either planning or engineering wise, with respect to the impact of warehousing and distribution centers at build out within the ROM district. For these reasons, it's my opinion that this process is significantly flawed. We have to look at the historic findings contained within your master plan and reexamination, and we find that the basis of all that assessment, which dates back to 1989, indicates that in fact warehouses and distribution centers were found to be not only consistent with the location, which has incredible highway access, visibility, and attributes such as infrastructure availability, and would also provide for a stabilized tax base and infrastructure improvements throughout the community. Instead, the governing body has dismissed all those findings in the years of studies and has undertaken what we believe to be an ad hoc procedure. And I'll get into that a little bit further. But I go back to as far back as 1989, when your master plan goals and objectives included intensities of developing intensities of land use that were compatible with physical limitations of the land, encouraging integrated development of industrial districts south of Route 57, promoting land uses which provide a favorable physical balance and stable.
Sir, if I could just interrupt for 1 minute, your 5 minutes is up. And in order to be fair to the other 100 people that are on, I'd rather move on at this point.
Lori, is there any other hands raised?
Yes. Jim Belsky.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I understand the Lopat Planning Board voted 5-2 that the 2102 ordinance was inconsistent with the Township Master Plan. Can you please explain the impact of the Planning Board's vote as it pertains to the enforcement of the ordinance? Could the Planning Board still approve warehouse construction in the ROM zones regardless of the ordinance? Thank you.
So the township's not going to go through and explain the legal aspects of what the planning board can do. We just read 9 pages of why we found it to be inconsistent, and we're going to stay with that. And as I mentioned earlier, there are 4 pieces of litigation pending, so that are challenging such things. So we're not going to get into those any further. I apologize that we can't, but tonight we're here to do the ordinance, and that's what we're here to do.
If I could just follow up on that, thank you for that response. And I want to just put into perspective the concern with NFI building another 600,000 or planning to build another 600,000 square foot warehouse directly across the street from the 500,000 square foot warehouse. But this time, this warehouse that NFI would like to build is within 150 feet of residential homes. So that's why this is extremely important for us to understand, in addition to all the other issues that the warehouses are bringing. So I just wanted to bring that to light to make sure I can present that grave concern.
I think the only thing I can add is that it is the township's position that the ordinance that we passed in the end of 2020 is valid, and it will stand up to challenge, which it has legally been challenged. And so applicants are free to file applications with the board. That doesn't mean that they're going to go through. It's all under legal challenge. So they are still free to file applications, and they're free to challenge what the town did. So the town's position is that what we did at the end of 2020 is valid. But as I mentioned in my very long-winded explanation, this is a redo of that ordinance to do the exact same thing to correct any alleged procedural defects. So if you look at both ordinances, you'll see that they are virtually identical. So we're just doing it again. But like I said, we can't stop people from filing applications. That doesn't mean that they are going to complete those applications. The court at this point will have to decide that based upon the various legal challenges that have been filed.
Thank you very much for that response.
All right, Mr. Belsky, thank you. Lori, anyone else?
Yes, I have Patty Lindenbach.
Patty, good evening.
Hi, this is Patty Lindenbach from Overlook. Stop. Sorry, I had to stop my dog from barking. I understand that there's, and I'm glad to hear that we feel like the position of the council is very strong. But my concern, I guess, moving forward is, should the unthinkable happen and the township lose and development proceed on strikers. What can I do as a resident, and what can we do to ensure that development is not continued or performed elsewhere in the township proactively? Because again, I think some of the issues here is timing. So can we proactively do things to ensure that no further development is even proposed elsewhere, that we're on more solid legal ground? Thank you.
So this ordinance, if passed tonight, will basically, again, it says right on there, remove warehouse and distribution centers. Beyond that, it would be a case-by-case basis really as to what we're looking to put in.
Can we get do we need to make changes in the future to ensure that the planning board and the council are aligned or changes to the master plan to ensure that there's no disconnect?
So what I would just say to any resident of the Township of Lopatcong is available online is the township zoning map and the township's zoning ordinance, and you can see what uses are permitted in each zone. And I would encourage members of the public to view what's available and what's allowed to be built in various zones. And if you feel something shouldn't be built or should be allowed, at any time you can come to the Township Council or you can come to the Planning Board, and you can make your proposal for things that you think should be changed. I think what the mayor was saying is these zones that would be changed by this ordinance tonight, I believe are the only zones that would have allowed warehouses. So if warehouses are the issue, I don't believe there are any other remaining zones that would allow these type of warehouses. But I encourage you to review the land use code or ask questions of your council if you have a specific question. At another meeting tonight, we're just talking about this ordinance, but it's available online, and there's a zoning map that maps it out, so you can look at the township and see. It's a color-coded map, and it's available online.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Lori?
I do have, I think it's, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Ryan Paul Simmons. Let me unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, here. How are
Okay,
you?
go ahead.
I'm
Good.
good. How
Welcome,
about yourself?
everybody. I'm very, very proud to be a part of this. I just have a major concern. I just recently purchased the old Grange on 519. And my concern is, as this warehouse and this propagation continues, the state has no reason to not widen the road. And I am literally, when you come out of my house and you take a step down from my staircase, I'm less than 6 inches away from the highway.
Are you referring to Route 519?
Yes, sir.
All right, that is a county road, not a state road.
Okay. But with this warehouse and this trafficking that's coming through here, they're going to have to widen this. That becomes a major concern, because my front door is already at this county road. What happens next?
I think the resolution that I read, as painful it was for everyone to listen to me read all 9 pages, I think that's a lot of the concerns that were in that resolution.
Yeah. That's my main concern. I'm a newbie here, and I'm totally supportive of the community. I'm a professional artist. I donated a lot of money to charity. I would love to put in to help the community, but I don't want to lose my house or my front porch.
Again, that's really more of a county issue at this point. Obviously, traffic is going to dictate what they do. So I certainly don't want to pass the buck. That may be a better question for your county planning.
Okay, but from what my understanding is with this warehouse and the continuation, the goal for 519 is to widen it. Am I wrong?
I have not heard that.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, sir. Thanks for calling. Lori?
Okay, I'm going to go with Matthew. Did you have another question? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Jano was unable to complete his testimony or his presentation, I think because the council was concerned that there would be a lengthy public comments. I will just request that Mr. Jano be permitted the opportunity to present his conclusion, so that's on the record and everything is tied up in that regard.
Okay, I think we still have some people with our.
Yeah, I still have at least two more.
Okay.
Okay. Lee, go ahead. Lee.
Okay.
Lee Rozicki.
Hi, thank you. First, I want to commend council on the lengthy 9-page ordinance and outlining very specifically all the reasons why we shouldn't have this type of industry zoned in that area. I agree totally 100% with all of the stated reasons. Thank you for your thoroughness. My question is, it's about the master plan. Two questions about the master plan. Is there a routine review of the master plan, like every 7 years or so? I want to bring that up because to piggyback on the other residents' comment about being proactive. And it seems to me, if I'm correct, that a lot of these these companies suing us based on our language of the ordinance is not in conjunction with the master plan. How can we be proactive in buttoning up the master plan to prevent companies to sue, based on inequity of language and whatnot? So to button up my question, how often do we review the master plan? And if us citizens bring questions of changes to zoning and what we would like to see and not see, can that be directed towards the master plan?
Joe, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, and of course, I'm not an attorney, and Paul, you may want to back me up on this. I believe the statutory requirement now is every 10 years, Paul?
Yes.
And you can implement revisions in the meantime, but it's a lengthy process. It was done not too long ago. It won't be due for a while. And like Katrina mentioned to the other lady that called, the other woman, you're always welcome to submit your views on planning and land use to council and/or the planning board, and we can attack that periodically.
So quick follow-up, who has control over the master plan? Is
Planning
it
board.
council or planning
Board.
board? So comments, you want to go to who has the power.
Well, it's a multi-step process, and Katrina, you holler if I'm wrong, but the planning board has the master plan. That's your vision, but it has to be turned into an ordinance. And the council takes the master plan, turns that into a land use ordinance, and then the ordinance goes back to the planning board for comment before it's implemented. So it's a lengthy process. It goes back and forth. We're both involved, but the master plan starts with the planning board. Of course, the council can ask them to do it, but it is done under the jurisdiction of the planning board.
Okay. Thank you
Am I
for that
correct, Mr.
clarification.
Paul? Does that sound right?
That is correct.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, Lee, thank you very much. Lori?
Had Craig Chuley. Craig, are you still here?
I am. How are
Okay,
you?
good. Go ahead.
It's kind of like a triple down on this comment, but the response given to the woman who asked first, and then Katrina, I think you said that we can look for ourselves at the things. The one question I have is, for the most part, we are not privy to all the things you are all privy to. We may not have the expertise that hopefully the members of the planning board have. I think back to I would call it a terrible time in our history when it came to the asphalt plant, which seemingly has had less impact than everybody complained about when it happened. But at that point, we were going to revisit some of the things that we did in the town and make sure certain things didn't happen. I think as residents, we often think we have the people in your positions looking out for the best interest and what might be to come, because not only do we have a quote unquote master plan, but things change around us. And that's where we would hope that people who aren't looking at this on a more regular basis. So as opposed to suggesting that the township residents are responsible to look at and discern what exactly we're reading, would it not be more prudent to have someone who understands what currently exists and what that could yield, whether it through legal language, whether it through understanding of the change in the laws, some possible way that we have a proactive approach versus like we find ourselves again reacting to something that seemingly we all agree with at this point, which is, a tough situation. We could find ourselves paying money versus collecting taxes, for example.
Does anybody mind if I take a stab at that?
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, we didn't suggest that it was the responsibility of the residents. I think she asked how, can I have input? And we said, sure, it's always welcome. The planning board, I'd say 4 years ago, took a look at the master plan and it didn't go anyplace. They couldn't reach a consensus. It's a planning process. It involves 9 people and it involves input from others. And there's no question the responsibility is the planning board's. But I believe the question was, can the public have input? And we said input is always welcome. We have a professional planner. We have a professional engineer. We have elected officials, appointed officials that have experience, and we do it when we feel a need. And then, of course, we have the 10-year requirement. And we stay current with the Highlands Master Plan, too. We make revisions as required by the Highlands. Katrina and Paul, is that a fair answer?
Yes.
The township has been doing planning all along because of the fact that we have a petition with the Highlands Council that aligns our master plan with the Highlands Regional Master Plan. George has been doing various studies and planning tasks over the last 10 years in response to that. So we've never stopped doing planning in this township.
No, and I don't want it to sound accusatory in any fashion, but what we quantifiably know is that we all agree we don't want the other warehouse here, yet we find ourselves playing defense / catch up because we didn't foresee this potentially coming our way. As I would understand it. If I'm incorrect, please correct. I'm not suggesting I know everything. What I'm asking is, I know we can all have input and that's great. I appreciate the transparency, but I don't know that I can personally tell you, no matter the level of my education, I don't know enough about what goes on with planning and how those things and what things we should be proactively looking at so that this isn't going to happen again the next time we go through. And like the gentleman mentioned about, his house on 519, let's just even go back to, they've already destroyed the road, between the railroad tracks and Raths. That road was redone, and maybe it's 10 years ago now, but still in comparison to other town roads. Now we're going to triple down, if you will. So these are the kind of things that I don't know how as residents we can help be part of the solution. If you can share with us how to do that, I think count on, I know for my employment, I count on other people who know things that I don't know. And that's kind of what I'm asking here. It's not accusatory at all. It's just how can we work with you to find those things that could be coming so we're not defensive?
Well, this is Mayor Mangucci. I would ask that if you have any ideas, please email us, any one of us. Our email addresses are out there. One thing I haven't accomplished in my 19 years of being here is reading minds. And, things like this flare up, like the asphalt plant flared up back in 2012. And it's usually when people see something that they don't like. So,
Mayor, yeah, that's actually not a very, I wouldn't call it the best response you could have given, because I'm not looking for emailing you. What I'm asking you is, you're the mayor, I'm not.
yes,
You
yes.
got voted in by people who wanted you in this role. Therefore, it's your responsibility to look out for the betterment of the town. If you agree, if you didn't all agree, if we were debating whether or not the warehouse was good, and believe it or not, I'd have a better shot at understanding the tax revenue we could get from this warehouse than we can from the asphalt plant, but that's a different conversation.
Right.
But if you have a belief that this was somehow going to benefit us, great, let's talk about you. No one is saying that. We're all on the same page that we don't want this here. But
Right.
that suggests that and then it wouldn't even be your leadership because you've not been in long enough. But had there been a leadership component that looked out for this coming, there's no way I could email you and say, hey, Mayor, I don't know what you have planned, but I think you should look at everything. That's not going to help us. I'm saying, for those who are involved in planning, those who attend meetings where they talk about new zoning laws, they talk about new modifications to things that we may have thought were stable, we're at risk because our current, whatever you called it, our current plan says you're allowed to be here. And I agree. If I want to paint my house purple, you can't stop me because that's my right. But at the same time, if I had a zone that said I can't do that, I don't have to worry about it. And that's what I'm asking. So me emailing you is not going to help the cause. The cause that needs to be addressed is who's looking out for us for what's coming. And then again, we're all aligned on this one. So no one wanted this to happen. How do we stop it from the next thing if it's not this warehouse?
So I think, just to echo what maybe Joe Pryor and Paul Sturban said already, is council and the planning board does do that. You don't necessarily hear about it until it's an issue like this that comes up. But they make changes to their zoning and land use ordinance all the time, and they review their master plan every 10 years. And something that maybe you're not aware of is this council made the change to the ordinance, decided they needed to make this change before any applications were filed by any developers. They heard we were changing the ordinance and came in and filed between first and second reading. Unfortunately, a municipality takes 2 months to change an ordinance, but there was nothing pending when council made this change. But then people who wanted to build became aware and ran in and filed applications and then followed up with lawsuits. But so this council wasn't reacting to an application. It was deciding what it wanted for the municipality. No, and I can understand, you could say, well, maybe they should have done that years ago.
No, but at least that shows foresight. That definitely shows
But
foresight.
just so you know, that the
Yeah.
council required first and second reading, which takes a minimum of 2 months. And we had to notice everyone within 200 feet of those zones, which includes the property owners of these properties. And so if they had some ideas or things in the works that they were thinking of, whether we knew about it or not, they ran in and filed applications before we got to second reading. And that's part of the litigation that's pending.
Understood. Thank you. That really helps. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Lori, anyone else?
Right now, the only two that have their hands up are Matthew and Andrew.
Yep.
And I think you're both with NFI.
Yeah. So if there's no one else at this time, Mr. Janu, if you'd like 5 more minutes to finish your presentation.
That'd be appreciated. Thank you.
All right, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. So just what I really want to get to is the whole concept of looking at the warehouse use on a case-by-case basis. Anyone in land use is familiar with the Cox Treatise known as New Jersey Zoning and Land Use Administration. And looking at the 2021 edition, particularly Chapter 10, Section 8.3, there's a warning of such ad hoc decision-making for the purpose of controlling a use on a case-by-case basis. Cox cites a case known as Filer v. Fort Lee Board of Adjustment, wherein the governing body there for a particular area zoned the property for 1- and 2-family residences, knowing that the area was inappropriate for such uses, but the purpose was to force the development applications to come before the board on a case-by-case basis so that the board can find a specific rationale for the ones they like, the ones they don't like. Courts found this to be impermissible. and directly commented that this action runs counter to the requirement of the MLUL that the zoning ordinance must reflect the underlying purposes set forth in a duly adopted master plan. Cox opined that such ad hoc decision-making was not acceptable. And yet, I think that's very akin to what we're looking at today. By eliminating the warehouse and distribution use in its entirety, with the knowledge that such uses are suited to the district and have been encouraged repeatedly since 1989 in planning documents, the council creates a situation where a likely use that was historically identified as appropriate for the district will be required to seek approval on a case-by-case basis from the zoning board of adjustment, which will have the power to filter the attributes of the use. In my professional opinion, the council's intent with respect to the is revealed particularly in paragraphs 19 and 20 of the resolution that was recited this evening. Paragraph 19 in the ordinance states, Ordinance 21-02 will help assure the local transportation routes will continue to promote the free flow of traffic. Limiting the development of warehouse and distribution centers that generate large volumes of truck traffic will mitigate congestion on roadways and promote their safe and efficient operation. Noteworthy herein is the reference that the intent is to limit, not eliminate warehouse uses. In other words, the council seeks a mechanism to assess a warehouse and distribution use on a case-by-case basis based on operational attributes. This is further supported in paragraph 20 where it states, Ordinance 21-02 will limit the further rapid development of warehouse and distribution centers within Lopatcong Township. Herein is another acknowledgement of the creation of a mechanism to limit, not eliminate, the rapid development of the use within a market demand by introducing a mechanism that will review such uses on a case-by-case basis. The council's actions towards this system of ad hoc decision-making on the warehouse and distribution centers is directly contrary to the Filer case and the municipal land use law. We have to remember that for years, the master plan and the reexamination have been encouraging this use. Lopatcong presumably understands that this land use violation, that this is a land use violation, and instead eliminated the entirety of the category of the use when this is appropriate for the ROM district. And this was done specifically to do a case-by-case assessment of the warehouses and their individual attributes. This will result in applications for future warehouse development being directed to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for a use variance. That use variance will have to be reconciled with the Medici criteria, and the council may or may not understand the Medici criteria, but this is a reconciliation before the board with an examination of why a use category was restricted from the district. The argument would inevitably cite that for 20 plus years, warehouse and distribution centers were found to be suited in the district, were even favored and encouraged with enhanced bulk standards. And as recently as in 2018, with the reconciliation with the Highlands Council, there was an encouragement and a citation that the ROM district was functioning properly and without incident. Warehouse and distribution centers were included in the ROM district because the location was particularly suited for the use. The broad category of warehouse and distribution centers was removed because of concerns related to a narrow subset of the use. It's my professional opinion that upon my review of this documentation, the board is attempting such an ad hoc maneuver in order to control warehouse and distribution uses on a case-by-case basis. And procedurally, it did not follow the process properly. It rushed through the two ordinance readings, whereas it should have authorized a master plan reexamination and drill down to local studies of the situation in order to make an educated decision. The decision-making process was based on published information that was national and outdated at the time that it was referenced. And I believe that the board's decision this evening is not properly founded and may have ramifications thereafter.
All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Lori, anyone else?
There's no one else, but if there is anyone on the phone.
Mr. Betts is raising his hand.
Okay.
Video.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, I just have a question. The three warehouses over there behind Berry Plastic and the one that's going next where the solar farm is, the solar energy farm, and then the one over where the mall is. Are these in some type of litigation affecting those with this ordinance change, or are those already on their way to approval.
There are 4 pieces of litigation pending. One was filed by NFI, or excuse me, one was filed by the owner of the piece of property behind Berry Plastic. One was filed by, 2 were filed by potential developers of the solar piece of property, and then one was filed by NFI relating to planning board matters. So it's
Okay.
4 lawsuits, all relating to those 2 pieces of property.
Okay, so.
There's no
so
lawsuit
not-
pending regarding the Phillipsburg Mall parcel.
So nothing has been decided yet in these lawsuits, is what you're saying. They're in
Lawsuits
lawsuits.
take a very long time. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Katrina Campbell, for your noticing that I wanted to speak. Thanks. And thanks, council, for bringing this issue up to the front tonight. Okay, thank you.
John, thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Yep.
Lori,
Yes,
anyone
Mr.
else?
Cameron.
I don't see anyone else. Matthew still has his hands up, but I don't know if he needs to speak anymore. But if there is anybody on the phone, if you do *9 to raise your hand, or if you just want to unmute yourself.
I'm not hearing any.
No, I don't see anyone either.
This is Lee, a quick follow-up.
I'm here.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Lee.
Lee.
So what is the next step after the ordinance is passed tonight, I'm assuming? Is it just a wait and see how these 4 lawsuits play out kind of thing? Is that what happens to it?
The
to the
township will
ordinance?
continue to defend the lawsuits as we've been doing. We hope that this is helpful in the township. Like I said, I think we were pretty confident we did it right the first time, but we're hoping this is another arrow in our quiver for the lawsuits. But we just have to continue down the path we're down.
Defending the ordinance, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more.
Okay.
Just shows up as iPhone.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hey, everyone. This is not pertaining to.
Can you just state
Ma'am,
your name and address for the record?
Sure. Joanne Petty, 2 Briarstone Avenue. And I just want to bring this up. It's not about your warehouse deal. You guys pretty much got that settled, but
That's all we're taking comment on right now is this ordinance. We have another public comment at the end of the meeting.
okay. All right, then. Well, then you just do that then.
All right, Lori, anyone else?
Not that I see. No.
Seeing
Oh,
none.
hold on. Pat Kane.
Huh.
Pat Kane, did you want to speak? Go ahead, Pat. Hold on. I'll unmute you. Go ahead.
I saw Pat King earlier.
There you go. Go ahead.
So I want to thank the council for this ordinance. The comment I had, or the expert, was some of his saying that it was appropriate. That was back in '89, and what was appropriate even 20 years ago is definitely not appropriate now. I also live in Overlook, and I'm concerned for health of that. The particulates from the diesel that will be coming our way, and in Overlook unit, we have small children, we have babies, we have elderly people. And I know that the particulates from diesel fuel is very detrimental to physical health. I know that what you said about that this particular project was slipped in between the council. I think it's a heads up for all of us to keep very astute on the planning board and how land use is planned. And to say that that we're doing something illegal, I think even if the state or if the nation said that this was okay for us to breathe in diesel fuel and all of this, certainly is not for the benefit of the health of the people of this community, much less the heavy traffic load that's going to come up, and even the man's front porch. I mean, if this is progress and our houses are going to be taken away because it has to be widened, how can the number of trucks that would be on Stryker Road, would be rebuilding that road every 5-10 years, maybe 2 years? So I want to praise you for the work that you've done on this, and you certainly have my prayers and support for the continuation. Thank you.
Pat, thank you. Lori, anyone else?
I don't see anyone else, but if anybody sees anybody raising their hand, I don't see anything at this point.
I don't see anyone visually raising.
Visually doing that either, yeah. Oh, wait,
Wait,
hold
wait,
on.
everyone.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary.
Oh,
Hold on, gotta unmute you. You're still muted.
I think you have to try to unmute yourself.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
She should be unmuted.
Yeah, she is unmuted, but we don't hear her.
No.
Perhaps you want to try to type your comment into the chat function if you can, if it's.
Yeah. Seems like your sound isn't working.
And if you type it in, I'll read it out loud.
Mhm.
I guess while she's typing, if there's anyone else who is trying to get our attention, you can type into the chat function and let
Yeah.
us know that you're trying to get our attention.
God awful. And I suppose they adapt a lot better than the teachers do.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the ease at which they move around, you know, the technology.
There's somebody who needs to be muted.
Yeah, I muted him.
Thank you. I couldn't get to it quick enough.
Did that question come through? Did you
Not
get it,
yet.
Katrina?
No, I did not.
I did not either. Here, hold on, it might be going.
She's unmuted. We can't hear her. She have her volume up?
Well, it might, yeah, mic might not be working. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing yet.
No, I'll
We could
try.
also have you, if you have a telephone, we can give you a number to call in and you can.
I just sent her a message. Hold on.
Okay.
This might be going to somebody else. As far as that, I don't see anybody else.
Let me see if I can write. Mary, I'm going to try to
Okay.
write to you and see if you can just respond to me. Okay. I just sent you a message. If you can see it, you can write back to me. No. Okay.
don't see it?
Do you have a telephone? Do you want me to give you a number you can call in? Okay. Lori, I can give her any of these numbers, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's 929-436-2866.
Does she need the meeting number?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, hold on, I'll get that. One, 286. Okay. Okay.
And Lori, once we take Mary's comment, I
There
see
you go.
one hand raised.
Okay. Let's see if she can get in. Well, she's trying to get in. I'll have, I believe it's Patty.
You there?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, Patty Sagetta, 1034 Deer Haven Terrace. I live at Overlook. I wasn't able to get into the meeting in the beginning, and I just need a clarification. I saw two diagrams. One was black and white, and one had an actual aerial photo. And in the one aerial photo, it looked like they were going to build something behind Berry Plastics, but next to it was the solar panels, which were still in the photo. My question is there more than one building slated for the area of Berry Plastics, behind Berry Plastics, where the solar panel is, is it slated for more than one building to be built there?
The township has 2 applications, and of those 2 applications, I believe 3 buildings are proposed total. One is behind Berry Plastics in the field, the farm field, and the other is where the solar panels currently exist. I believe the proposal is to take up the solar panels, build the building, and put the solar panels back. I can't say that for sure. I have not seen those plans, but that is my understanding. So there are 2 different developers proposing 2 different applications, but I believe if they got everything they wanted, it would result in 3 buildings on that side of the road.
Okay,
Katrina,
so
Katrina, I'm just
Yeah.
going to jump in on you are correct that where the solar panels are located, there is a warehouse proposed over there. Originally, there were 2 warehouses actually proposed on the original application. That application's been amended, and one of the buildings has been removed. In addition to that, a parking deck has been removed. So there's 1 building there. There's a total of 2 warehouses on the east side of Strikers Road, one on each site.
Okay.
Okay, so
1 warehouse each application.
right. So if you were on Stryker Road, the warehouse that is currently being built, that land is lower. It's low. And when they built the warehouse, they took a lot of the ground out. So when they built it, the building would be pretty low. So it wouldn't be like a giant wall. But the other side where the solar panels are, that land is very high on Stryker Road. It's like the top part of it. Are they going to build it down, or are they going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I look out my back deck, I see the solar panels. Am I going to wake up one day and have a wall like the size of a giant tsunami? Like, am I going to be able to see the sky? You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
are they
So-
going to
so
build
the
it so that
township-
it's,
The township's position is that the ordinance we passed previously won't allow them to build anything.
okay.
So, and that's what this ordinance would, again, not allow warehouses in that zone. So there would be no warehouses, but they do have applications. I can't speak to what their topography or any of that is, but I think it's safe to say there's going to be a wall over there. So, but I can't speak to that. The plans are available for inspection at the municipal building if anyone wants to see them. And the planning board, has had some testimony about some of it. But what we're doing right now is to put an ordinance in place that would not permit any warehouses on that side of the street.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mary, do you want to try again? Yeah, we still can't hear Mary. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, she's showing as unmuted, but it must
Yeah.
be microphone on her end.
She can't type in the chat. So I don't know if, she could call, could she call into the office?
You can call my cell phone if you'd like.
You want to give that out?
Mary, would you like my cell phone?
We'll put you on.
Yeah.
It's 610-972-8834.
Very brave giving 104 people your cell phone number.
That's okay. We're not here to duck anything.
We all know how to find it.
There you are.
Yeah, that's very nice.
No problem.
Nothing, I typed in and it didn't take it. I tried changing my preferences, didn't work. My question is whether or not
You know what? Hold on.
attorney
Can you mute the audio on your end?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The attorneys that are working for the township, I'll move away from the computer and maybe that'll stop that.
I think it's actually because, no, you're good. You're good. Go ahead. Okay.
For the towns. I'm concerned about the research that they used, that gentleman had been reading, that it was old. He cited it from the 1980s, et cetera, and that some of it was national, none of it was local or recent. And I'm just wondering whether our attorneys are addressing that, because that seems to me to be a vulnerable spot in what we're presenting, because those horrifying statistics say a lot, but if they are deemed to be outdated or inappropriately applied, would that not leave us in a vulnerable position?
So the township is, the two reports that are cited in that resolution. One is dated 2016. That's the Institute of Transportation Engineers 2016 High Cube Warehouse Vehicle Trip Analysis. And the second one is the Warren County Light Industrial Site Assessment. That's dated September 9th, 2020. So it was done last fall.
So what was that other gentleman talking about?
You'd have to ask him.
You would really have to ask him.
And just to add to that, this was prepared with the township's planner, the township's engineer, the township's attorney. It wasn't just attorneys writing it. We use professionals who know what they're doing.
Okay. All right. And thank you for your perseverance in trying to have me heard. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lori, anyone else?
No, I do have one comment though. And please note that I'm commenting in my capacity as a resident and nothing else. Maybe, and I was just discussing this with someone, since, we sit here and we never know what's going to come in, and I think everybody got a little blindsided by the desire for warehousing companies to actually put warehouses in our area, since we have so few highways. Would it be something that you'd be interested in, and maybe putting together a focus group of some residents to sit and talk about like what they would like to see in the town, and see if people come up with some thoughts on that? I don't know. Sometimes, like, I know we've talked about how meetings like this are so formal and rigid with their rules, but if you had like maybe 2 council members, now you don't have quorum. It's just a get together, and maybe grab some residents and talk informally.
We could certainly entertain. That's why I offered my email address earlier. I know that's not an in-person thing, but in this world where we're not doing a whole lot of in-person things, I mean, if 3 or 4 people wanted to get together, again, I will tell them to please email me and I will reach out to you. Maybe we can get a focus group together.
Okay, great. I can put your email address in the chat.
That's fine.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Joe.
can I just comment on, the focus group would have to have some rules. We have had this before. People come in and they said, oh, right on this site, we want a Wegmans. And here we want a Pep Boys. And there we want a, ice cream store. And planning doesn't work that way. They would have to be given some guidelines, I feel. And, the recommendations would have to recognize the realities of the market and the freedoms that are given to developers. And that's my comment. You just couldn't round up 4 people and say, here's a meeting room, because I really feel you wouldn't get something usable out of that. Maybe if they had a chance to work with a planner or something like that who could guide them, that would be much more effective.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Comment?
Craig Julie wants to comment again.
Okay.
Go ahead, Craig.
Thanks. Hey, Joe, this is Craig Chuli. I completely agree with you, because I think the one thing we do, if we're being smart, I don't think anyone's against development. And of course, will we love a Wegmans right here or love that right there? Sure, but we can't call that out. We can't tell somebody where or what to build. But I think what we're wanting to do is kind of try to say, what are the types of developing we want as a town that keeps us progressive, but not turns us into something that we can't handle. So I agree with you. I think a focus group could be good if it's a way to provide insight that we can't give in this kind of forum, but maybe there is a template, to your point, Joe, that says, so here's what we currently sit with. Here are the kind of things that we could have. You know what I mean? Because I'm with you. You can't just say no to everything.
Yeah, you have to give a little structure to it.
Exactly. So, and I would be more than happy to be part of a group like that to just help to say, what is something we argued about the solar fields back when, right? Why? Because we couldn't tax them because they weren't a building. So that was a downside of what it was. The plus side was it wasn't going to be anything more than a solar field. Then we get here, right? So I'm with you, but I think there is an opportunity. And I think, Mayor, it goes to your comment too, where you say, if we can contact you, maybe this is another medium that would help share that. I think most people, I mean, you'll get some that'll say, I don't want any development, keep us as we were. Unfortunately, those days have long passed most towns across the country. But if we can keep ourselves to be more of what our core and our soul is about, I think that's what everybody would hope for while doing appropriate development.
Craig, thank you for that. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Stacy.
Stacy?
Yeah, go ahead, Stacy.
Go ahead, Stace.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, Stacy Bain, 3 Windsor Lane. I think Lori made a great point. And I think this goes almost beyond the warehouses. I think there needs to be more communication. That's what needs to be worked on overall. You don't find people attending these things until bad things happen. So I don't know how you want to take it from there, but I think there needs to be some sort of change.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right.
Motion to close.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Make that motion. I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion on ordinance number 21-02. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please, Matt.
Councilman Belcaro,
Yes.
Councilman Polito,
Yes.
Councilman Wright,
Yes.
Council President Pryor,
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci.
Yes. Number 4 is ordinance number 21-03, second reading and public hearing to establish a cap bank. Need a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Questions, comments on 2103?
Again, if you want to make a comment, please raise your hand. This one's less exciting, so I expect less input.
John Betts.
Katrina, Mayor,
Yes.
where is the money coming from for the cap bank this year? What will be the source of the monies creating the cap bank?
It's not money like that. It's not money that comes out of the budget somewhere. We just establish a bank. The law allows us to go up, as you know, 2%. We're only allowed to go up a certain amount. And this allows us to establish a bank. So of years we don't go up. So if we need to go up in additional years, if your CFO.
Oh, I see. Okay. So that's tax free.
Yeah,
The
it's
tax
every
base.
municipality in the state of New Jersey does this ordinance. It's
Okay.
to establish a bank. So when you don't increase, if you needed to, if there was some emergency, it
There's-
gives you a little
yes.
bit of buffer.
Okay, yeah, I've been at the budget meetings sometimes, so that's what that was talking about. Okay, I got it. I got it.
All right, John, thank you. Anyone else?
Thanks.
Lori, we seen anybody?
No, I don't see anybody.
All right, motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to act on ordinance number 21-03.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Belcaro,
Yes.
Councilman Polito,
Yes.
Councilman Wright,
Yes.
Council President Pryor,
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci.
Yes. The consent agenda, gentlemen, is there anything that you want pulled out of the consent agenda? And to adopt the employee manual? Hearing none, do I have a motion on our consent agenda?
Motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Belcaro,
Yes.
Councilman Polito,
Yes.
Councilman Wright,
Yes.
Council President Pryor,
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci.
Yes. Council reports, I'm going to lead off tonight, if you guys don't mind. For those of you who may be on this Zoom meeting concerning the Lopatcong pool, we are not opening that pool this year. We believe that we have a rather large leak. We did put water in it last August, right before we got the 6 inches of rain last August, if you'll remember that storm. And the pool has lost a considerable amount of water. I am more than willing to hire a pool specialist, for lack of better terminology, to come in and look at that pool and tell us what it is that we need. In my capacity as the Director of Facilities for the Phillipsburg School District, I've just gone through an entire process of redoing the pool at the elementary school that the high school swim team uses. It can be very costly. The pool is been a valuable part of this township since 1967. I personally grew up with the pool. Generations have grown up with that pool. However, having said that, and again, this is just a statement on my part. If you take a look around, one of the things that I've heard from pool manufacturers is they're not even entertaining any pools until 2022 because their schedule is full for 2021. A lot more people are putting pools in, which obviously is going to cut down on the people that have the opportunity to possibly go to our local pool. So it's kind of a, we used to have dances there. We had a dance a couple of years ago where there was some trouble. We wanted to stop the dances at that point. I was not willing to do that. I had asked that we sell tickets to the pool so that we would know how many people were coming, and we sold 4. So it was at that point that we canceled the dances. So again, you're losing revenue. I don't believe that any community pool makes money. If they do, they don't make a lot of money. Ours has not made a lot of money over the years. We've lost money. I think it's 62 of our residents actually took season passes out in 2019. Again, I was a 9-year-old boy when that pool opened. It was an integral part of my growing up here in Lopatcong. And again, I'm not saying that we want to close it, but what I am saying is that we do want to take a look at it. And I personally would like to, I will not speak for the other 4 gentlemen, but I personally would like to put the question of the pool on the ballot with some facts and figures as to what it's cost and what it will cost to repair it before we open it. That pool is now, this would have been the 55th swimming season for that pool. It's time to put some money into it if that's what we want to do as a community. As you well know, the Alpha Pool, over the years, they hemmed and hawed, and after probably a 20-year absence of that pool, it was voted to tear it down. So that's where I'm at on the pool. I know a lot of people had, maybe on here with some questions for the pool. And again, it's an integral part of the community, but it's a very expensive part. It becomes a community service. And how much tax dollars do we want to throw at our pool for 62 residents? If you look at some of the sections of our township, Overlook has a pool, from which I understand. I don't know this for a fact, that they're not opening this year. Delaware Crossings is not opening their pool this year, but again, there's a pool. The Autumn Ridge development that just went in, there are 2 pools in that particular development. So a lot of opportunities for people to go to our pool. Warren Heights has a pool. All these developments that have come in have put pools in, and it's taken away really from potential for clientele at our pool. If you remember back in the 60s and 70s, that's a lot of there were no 2 income houses, and one parent or the other took their kids to the pool in the afternoon. You did what you had to do in the morning. You took your kids to the pool, and it was just, again, it was a great place. 13, 14 years old, you went on your own. I remember the days when there were 500 people at that pool. I don't think we get 500 people a week sometimes anymore. So that's it. That's my spiel on the pool. Again, we're definitely not opening it this year, and we are in the process of looking into A, what is wrong with it, and B, how much it would cost us to open it back up again. And keeping in mind that we put $160,000, I was on council back then, $160,000, probably 10, 15 years ago, into the pool deck around that. But it would take us years to recoup that, just that cost alone. So that's where we're at with the pool. So I don't know whether I've answered a lot of questions for any people that may be on about this pool. You're more than welcome to comment during our audience participation. So that's really my report for tonight. Mr. Belcarra, you have anything?
I do not, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Polito?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everybody for their comments with the ordinance regarding the warehouses. People have mentioned about what can be developed, some discussion groups. If you're interested, the Economic Development Advisory Committee is always looking for members. I could schedule a meeting. If people are interested, they can reach out to me with my council email, and I look forward to your responses. That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wright, do you have anything tonight?
Mayor, not really much of a report, but I want to appreciate everybody calling in and joining in with the conversation tonight about the warehouses. And I echo what you said about the pool. I'd like to look for anything we could in grants, COVID money, anything we can get to get the pool fixed up for the residents, and just give the residents something they have here they call their own. And that's about it. I just want to thank everybody for coming.
By the
out.
way, there is some grant money out there that may be available for that. I just talked to our CFO, Kim Brown, about that yesterday. So she's looking into that also. But thank you for that. Mr. Pryor?
No, actually, I was going to mention that call for grant applications. We don't have a whole lot of time. I think it's a little over a month. Perhaps you could get money for the pool out of that. I don't know if that's eligible, but I always championed expansion of the tot lot and playground, and perhaps something for handicapped kids. I don't know who's going to put that together. I have a suggestion. I'm just thinking of it. Lori was both chair of the rec committee. She's intimately familiar with everything at the park. And she did get us our grant money for music in the park. And A, I'm wondering if she would be willing to kind of quarterback this thing. And B, I think she volunteers so much. If she is willing, I'd like to offer a stipend for this. So, and I haven't talked to her about this. She may just say no right now. I don't know, but that's just a suggestion I had.
Well, I'm more than willing to do that. And again, to the general public, I know Mr. Pryor and the rest of the council, we've definitely looked at the possibility of hiring a park planner. We expanded the park back in 2006. We're looking at concession stands, we're looking at pavilions. So we'd like to kind of upgrade our park also, separate from the pool. So for people, I know some people said tonight that, it's not always, they're here when something shows up. Well, we just didn't arrive at these points tonight. A lot of these things, we do talk about things. We do talk about costs, obviously. If you've taken a look at your sewer bill and whatnot, Mr. Pryor championed that cause. Your sewer rates have gone down over $1. So per 100, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. But you know, that's 1,000. I'm sorry. But anyway, so you probably didn't even notice it, but it is something. And we have not borrowed money from our sewer budget to operate our municipal budget. Our municipal budget is in far better shape than it was 4 or 5 years ago. And again, your council is working to keep it that way. We're paying down our debt. We're paying off some things. So it's a good time to be here as mayor and council with the money. And of course, I'm forever worried about our tax collection rate. We're about 96% right now, which is good considering the COVID and whatnot for people that have lost their jobs. So I just want the residents to rest assured. I know, again, I had 15 years on council. This is my second term as mayor. Lou's been on a while. We are looking at everything. We're not rookies at this, but by the same token, we don't have all the answers either. Even at this point in my political career here, I don't have all the answers. One thing I have not accomplished is reading minds. So my phone number is out there. Feel free to call me. I would prefer, if you do want to call me, that you call me after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I do have a full-time job, and they expect me to perform my duties as best I can within the time frame there. So I'm available. If you call me, I'll answer my phone, and if I don't, I will get back to you. So that's it for me. That's it for the council reports. Paul, you have anything for us tonight?
I have nothing to report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Jason, I see our chief of police is on. Do you have anything for us tonight?
I would just like to thank the community for their outpouring of support with our recent tragedy and loss of a fellow officer from our neighboring town. So my heart goes out to the family, Phillipsburg PD, but I just want to make sure that I thank the whole entire community, because it's been a outpouring of support for everybody involved. It's certainly a tough time for everybody. So thank you. And that's really all I have to add tonight.
All right, Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Do I have a motion to approve department reports?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Approve the payment of bills?
Make
Motion,
the motion.
Second.
roll call, please.
Councilman Belcaro,
Yes.
Councilman Polito,
Yes.
Councilman Wright,
Yes.
Council President Pryor,
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci.
Yes. Okay, folks, questions, comments on,
Oh, before we
Katrina?
wait,
Hold on.
before we start, I have to read it again for those who joined late.
yep,
At this time, the council will take public comment on any matter that you wish to bring before council. If you wish to make a public comment and you are on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function. If you are on the telephone, please press *9. The host will call on members of the public one at a time and unmute you as she calls on you. You may have to unmute yourself as well. Once we go through everyone who's raised their hand or hit *9, we'll double check to make sure we didn't miss anyone. If you feel you're having technical difficulties and you want to alert the host, you may do so over the chat function, but do not make your comment over the chat function unless directed to do so. Do not use the chat function to chat amongst other participants. Before we begin the public comment, I will ask the clerk if the council received any written comments that have not yet been read into the record. Beth?
No.
Okay. Lori?
Okay, so let's start here with, I don't know who, Julia Jasper, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Julia Jasper and I live at 206 Bald Eagle in Overlook. And I'm on the Overlook Board of Directors. And I know the mayor said he wasn't sure, but I just wanted to make sure people knew that we have not yet made a decision about whether or not the Overlook pool will be open this summer. We hope that it will be, but we're in the middle of investigating everything and looking into how that may or may not happen. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole?
Hello, Nicole Palmisano, 814 Lopatcong Street, Belvedere, New Jersey. Going back to the Lopatcong pool, I appreciate you guys looking into the fix of the pool, of the leak. Just want to put in your head though, we have a swim team that swims there. I am one of the assistant coaches, Dennis Drake, who's also on the call, is the head coach. You know, I'm sure he'll speak and echo what I say. You know, that pool means a lot to us. And, you know, there's more. I mean, I manage there, I lifeguard, I've found best friends there and, you know, a lot of things. But that pool is a staple to the Lopatcong swim team. And without that, I don't know where we'd swim. And it's, you know, it's something that impacts a lot of kids and a lot of the coaches and everything. So thank you.
All right, Nicole, thank you.
Okay, Stacy.
Stacy Bain, 3 Windsor Lane. Mayor, you said that you were thinking about putting the pool to vote as a question on the ballot.
Yes.
How much money does that cost?
I'm
It
unaware
does
of that.
cost money to put a question on the ballot, correct?
It does, yes. I'm unaware of the cost at this point.
It wouldn't be a special election, though. It would be on the November election. So there is a cost, but it's not the same as if you just had a special election.
Okay. Second question is, you talked about hiring like a parks director or something like that.
We actually talked about hiring a park planner. We feel there are some things that need to be done up there. You got to understand that, you know, where the pavilion is and the field house, that's 1970s. The quad fields and all that other stuff, the walking track and whatnot, and the expansion of that and that parking lot and that was all done in 2006. So.
Okay. And then there was just mention of a stipend for, I mean, I love Lori, but you know, stipend for where is this money coming from compared to the money that could be used to repair the pool that we don't even know how much it's going to cost?
I can answer that. These stipends are tiny. They're minuscule compared to what the pool, when we talk about the pool and other things.
Okay. It would just be nice to see numbers and things presented and planned out.
They will be.
It will be? Okay.
Yeah, as far as the pool goes, absolutely.
Okay. And I just would suggest you have, you know, a ton of residents on here that really want this pool open, and maybe forming a committee with them and getting their input. Like I said before, I think we need some more transparency and we need community input. And this would be a perfect opportunity to get these community members involved.
Listen, I have, it's been posted. I have several boards in this township that I cannot fill at this point. So I would more than welcome people's participation in our local government. And
I had no clue. Like, honestly, I had no clue until I just recently went on. I had to search out the website.
Right.
I don't know if being a little bit more active, people live by social media, especially during this time of COVID, becoming more active on there. I've never, you know, once in a while I receive, you know, something in the mail, but other than that, I just feel there's a lack of communication from this community.
Okay. All right. Certainly, we can certainly work on that.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Okay.
See, John Betts is waving his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, John. And then I'll go
Okay,
through.
let me see if I can unmute myself there. Okay.
You're
Yes,
unmuted.
I'm gonna ask the same question I asked last week. About the $30 million, which is coming in the, from the federal government, the rescue plan, and Lopatcong's 824, approximately 824,000. Will that be used for community purposes? And if it will be, is there any way you could let the public know how you've used that money once you get it?
I have an answer for that, but I'm going to let our legal counsel answer it for me.
Okay.
So I think we're going to give you the same answer we gave you last meeting, which
Okay.
is we're not sure we're actually getting $800,000. That number came out, and a lot of experts have told us that they believe that those numbers designated to individual municipalities includes
Yes.
every stimulus check that residents within that
Now,
municipality got. So
can I make-
first we have to get the actual number and
Yes,
know what's the
okay.
real number. Second, we're being
Yes.
told from our auditors who have researched this that any money we do see, we'll
Yes.
most likely not see it before September. So we're
Okay.
not necessarily counting on that for this year. And then
No,
third,
yeah.
there is an utter lack of guidance from the government
Yes.
as to what we can use that money for. So there's a few things they've said you can't use it for, but
Okay.
just a total lack of guidance.
Yes,
So we're
okay.
doing everything we can, the auditors, my office, to try to research, once we know what it is that we're getting, what we can use it for. So a lot of people have put forth some ideas.
Yes.
You kind of put them on a list, and
Yes.
we'll
Okay.
have to.
I,
It's hard to even evaluate that list until we know how much we're getting and what we're allowed to use it for, and when we're going to get it.
okay, that's great. I have one thing to say. I called Assemblyman DeMayo's office and talked to Vice Chair and asked him about something which was mentioned at the last meeting, which was saying that the $1,400 families were getting was within that 824,000. And he said, "Oh, no, where are you getting that information?" So that's all that's what I got. I was directed to talk to the
The numbers that those
assembly.
numbers only came out in the newspaper. The municipality has not received anything in writing saying we're getting
Well,
that.
I understand that, Katrina. I get that part of it, but I just want to give you the
Sure,
tell you
no,
that I went
it's
further than
encouraging.
this.
I hope he's right, and I hope we're getting $800,000.
Yeah, I hope that would happen too.
I'm a bit of a pessimist, and I don't think you're going to, but we'll see.
I can certainly find places to put it, John, but
Yeah, I know you can.
I'm sure it'll come with strings attached, as with everything. with
I
the
hope.
federal government.
Yeah, I hope they're great uses for the community, Mayor Mengucci. So I thank you, Katrina, and thanks again, Mr. Mayor Mengucci and the council.
Thank you for your input, John. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, Curry family?
Is the Curry family on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm on. Excuse me. Mayor Mengucci, council, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Sturban. It's been a long time, Katrina. Mayor, like you, grew up with the pool. 1967, I was there on the swim team. 1968, well, I couldn't be and coached. Now my kids are on the swim team. Back when we took the pool over, there were, I even almost hate to bring it up, but it was called a white elephant by some.
Well, listen, I'll lay claim to that. Let's just call it what it is, Matt. You and I go back a long ways.
It hadn't been throughout my tenure on council. And first of all, let me say this. I recognize all the work that everybody does. It's not an easy job. It's a thankless job for the most part.
Yep.
And it does take a lot of time and effort. So I want to put that out there. I fully understand it. But I think in regard to the pool, that really to even say what you said tonight, Mayor, that there is no way you're opening the pool this summer, it's very short-sighted. It's my understanding that we invested $37,000 in a new pump system last year. We didn't open the pool. There's a leak. We haven't investigated yet, but my understanding is it's going to be investigated as early as perhaps next week. It's only April, and I don't know that anyone has even any idea of what the issue is with the leak. And if it's not, $100,000 repair job, I don't know why the town would not even consider opening the pool. I think it's very short-sighted. Let me say this, and it's not just the swim team. I have a pool, you're right, but we still join the pool because I want my kids to have the same experience that I had growing up, and they have for the most part. My one son got to swim for his full term. My second son, who would have his last year on the swim team at Lopat this year, after having started when he was 5 years old, didn't get last year, and now he's not going to get this year because decisions are being made, in my opinion, without all of the information. Don't know how that's even a possibility, and it's very upsetting to me. We talked about it even last year. There isn't any excuse. And in fact, you brought up some very good reasons why this year would be a great year to open the pool. If all these other communities that have pools are thinking about not opening them, what an opportunity. When was the last time that Lopat or brought flyers over to the middle school, the elementary school, or to the communities that may not open their pools to get membership up? When was the last time anybody considered even perhaps a sponsorship opportunity for a business to help out with the cost of the pool? And quite frankly, even if the pool did lose some money, it's the only thing in Lopatcong Township that people can go to and gather as a community. Yes, we do have the rec fields, we do have the, the music up at the pavilion and things like that. But what else is there for the kids to do on a summer day, if not go to the pool? There's nothing for any of them in this area. And, whether or not we have dances again, that's a decision that can be made down the line. But it's going to be like Alpha. You're right. You're predicting it. It's going to be just like Alpha if we keep using these excuses really to keep the pool closed. And I don't think that the decision should be made on this year yet. I think it's premature. Find out what the leak is. Maybe go out. Maybe some people would even be willing to donate money to help get the pool back open. But I think to do it with finality this year, and if you do it this year, and I know that there are people from the swim team that want to see it open this year, next year, and ongoing, I just think, and I think some council members have mentioned there's perhaps even grants that could be made or applied for at least, but it's been a part of Lopatcong since I can remember. 60 years old. It would be a tremendous shame to see it go away, or to see what happened to our pool, what happened to Alpha. Alpha didn't come along until after Lopat. Lopat was already in existence, and there was a lot of reasons why Alpha went out, and that was partly because Lopat was a great pool and it was run in a fantastic way. It always made money. It was donated to us by the Lopat Recreation Committee back when I was on council. So I think you really need to take a better look at it. I don't think it's a good idea to suggest that we can't open it this year. We still have 6 weeks or so before Memorial Day. In the past, the swim team members would come out, we'd paint benches, we painted the lifeguard stands, we even cleaned the bottom of the pool. We used all the acid and everything else that you need to do. You can get volunteers to do it, and it's been done in the past, and I've been a part of that. So, and I'd be willing to do it again without any doubt. So I just want to put that out there. I know there's some other people that will speak. Thank you.
Is that it, Matt?
That's it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for your input. I certainly enjoyed my time with you on council, and we were joking back and forth about it being a white elephant, and I believe every year that it made money. I do recall you leaning back, just looking at me and smiling. And the pool has been an integral part of this township. There's no question. However, the time has come to take a serious look at it. I certainly don't necessarily want to close it, but if we're operating as a business, it's a failing business at this point, and it's not getting any better. When that pool opened up, there were 500 people at the grand opening of that pool, and you only had Rose Hill Heights, Delaware Park, and Morris Park as part of this township at that time. And not a lot of people had pools. So while I don't necessarily want to close it, I think you can see my thought process here. And I don't want to deny the kids anything, which is why we've talked about a park plan and whatnot, because we realize that we need to do something for our residents. I mean, you were there when we redid the park. That was a vision on our part to do the park over again, and that has served the community well. I've sat at music at the park several nights, and people have commented to me they love the walking path. It's a beautiful site. And I realize that the pool and the pavilion were the first points of that. So your points are well taken. They're not falling on deaf ears. None of this is falling on deaf ears. It's simply, as you well know, you've prepared budgets before. We need to take a look at everything, and that's what we're doing. And that's why we're in the financial shape that we're in now. I'm not tooting my own horn because there's 4 of the guys. This is part of a team. A quarterback goes nowhere without his line. But Mr. Pryor had mentioned to me that while I was out, not because of me, but at some point it was Joe Pryor that took a look at the budget and realized we had a $65,000 surplus in this township. we now have a good surplus because we've been very vigilant in what it is that we're doing here. We had a change in leadership for a couple of years that the people felt didn't really work out. So I hate to say this, but it's the reality of it at this point. The old guy's back and we're looking. I realize that the pool is an integral part. We did movies at the pool. We've had dances at the pool. We've had swim meets at the pool. We've had people, rent the pool, rent the pavilion. I get it. And we are definitely looking into it. Maybe our timeline isn't what you feel was prevalent to do at this point, but we are looking at it. I believe it was 2 years ago in 3 years ago now, in 2018, we had a leak there, a bad leak. I think we were losing like 5,000 gallons a day. And with that, of course, goes all your chlorine and all that other stuff. We had that leak repaired and we were good for 19. We did not open the pool last year, obviously, because of COVID. My instructions to Brian Weeks, our road supervisor, were to not put any water in that pool until August, because I didn't want anybody being misled. Hey, maybe they're going to open the pool. We put water in August, and it became quickly apparent. This was after we had a six inch rain in August. If you may remember that, you may not. That the level of that pool just dropped tremendously. And I said to Brian, "Looks like we got another leak." So we are investigating it. Brian has called someone to come in and take a look at it. So it's not a dead issue by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't see it opening this year. Anybody else, Lori?
Yes, Joe Curry.
Joe Curry, Matt's son. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, hi. So just basically going off of what my dad just said.
Yes.
I've spent pretty much all of my summers at this pool since I was about 3 years old for the past 15 years, whether it just be part of, the swim team or watching my brother swim or as part of recall or recently lifeguarding. And just from what I've seen, just growing up here, I wouldn't say that people have lost interest. I've seen many of the same families here over my years just growing up here, and over my years lifeguarding, I've seen many people there every day. And, lifeguarding, we've had to put a lot of people up because the pool is filled. So I don't know where it's coming from that suddenly people are just disinterested. And like you said, with all of the other pools, closed around the area and stuff, people will come here. My friend who works at Regal Ridge said that they had a lot of people there because the Lopat pool was closed and they had no other place to go last year. So it is a very important part of our community, and it means a lot to a lot of people, and a lot of people still do spend their days there. So I do think it is important that even if we can't open it up this year, that we try to do something for next year and to the future.
All right, Joe. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Lori, anyone else?
Hold on, Dennis Drake.
Dennis, how we doing?
There you go. Okay,
How we doing, Dennis?
hold on, I'm getting him unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you, Dennis. Thank you.
Yeah, so Mayor Mangucci and the town council members, I appreciate you taking the time to explain why the pool is not opening this summer. I agree with you. It's a good idea that we should hire some aquatic specialists, a pool designer, to really take a look at what's needed so that there's a good chance that we can open in 2022. I know that clearly I support the opening of the pool, and I think that there would be many people in the community and surrounding communities, not just Lopatcong, but a lot of people in the surrounding communities who do take advantage of the pool and would like to see it remain open. If not this summer, then definitely the next summer. I have a lot of different, having worked in pools for almost my entire adult life, seeing how many different pools operate well and what they do and how they can be successful. So I have a lot of different ideas about how to make any updated pool more financially feasible. And whatever committee is created, I definitely like to be a part of that because I think it's important that we start to plan this year for the pool opening next year. So even if the pool is not going to open this summer, I don't want to be sitting here in, February of next year saying, well, we didn't really plan for anything. Things have to go out to bid. We don't really have realistic figures. That's something I like to get all figured out this summer so that next summer we're ready to go. Or if it's not feasible, at least we understand why.
Yep. I hear you. And quite frankly, we're really at this point under what I would consider to be a crush of time, because having gone through it in my capacity as the director of facilities in Phillipsburg, it takes a long time to get pool people up and running. And right now they're booked. People are just booked. Believe it or not, I mean, I know of a lot of pool companies that they're done for this year. They're starting to talk about 2022 as far as, installing pools and whatnot. So obviously we don't need a pool installed, but we do need somebody to go over it. So.
Right. So that's why I like to do the planning. Who should I contact, or when will a decision be made in terms of what kind of working group or committee will be formed to take a look at some realistic plans and get in contact with some specialists to figure out exactly what we need to do to update the pool?
Let me find out first and foremost from the people that we have coming in, what in fact, if we did nothing to the pool other than get it up to a point where it would operate, what it would cost us before we would start, entertaining upgrading or whatnot. So, and one of my big fears is with that pool, as we all know, when you have a pool that's operating for 53 years and it sits for 2 years, that's not good. So.
Right. Well, that's why I talked about updating, because it, just, patching things up is probably not going to go over well with material that's, like you said, 50 plus years old.
Yeah. To my knowledge, that pool's been sandblasted one time. That was when it was turned over to us back in 99. The Lopatcong Citizens Recreation Committee actually ran that pool with an independent entity from the township itself. And when they disbanded, before they turned it over, they sandblasted it and whatnot. So,
So yeah, but that's my main goal tonight, is that, everybody in the town council, that they understand there's a lot of people in the community, and that all of you are certainly supportive of seeing what it would take to get the pool open in 2022.
We do have a recreation committee in the township. You're more than welcome to join if you'd like. So maybe we can start there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Lori, anyone else?
Yes. Pam and Steve.
Yes. Herbert?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Are we on?
Yes, you are.
No, just before you start, gentlemen, this is the couple that I told you may be on tonight concerning the zoning issues out in the Strikers Road area. So go ahead.
Right. We live on 1279 Strikers Road. We'd like to address the recent rejection we got based on the zone that we had been zoned, we believe, improperly. It puts us in an R150, and I believe we should be at an R120. And this is all resulting from wanting to put in a shed. I know that we had some bigger discussions on some storage, but I'm talking a little storage here. And the zoning where I'm zoned now tells me that I should be 20 by 20 off the edges of the property, and it puts it kind of in the middle of my backyard. The rejection that I got says that I did not meet the minimum requirement lot size. So I got questioned from the zoning officer, how was your house built on this land? And I was taken aback by that. I said, what? How would I have anything to do with that? But he said, based on the zone that I'm in, this house should have never been built on this lot. So I believe we have an issue here, especially on Strikers Road, the homes on Strikers Road. There's at least 40 looking at the zoning map that are under 1.5 acres, but yet that is the minimum size for an R150. So, we were told that we have to possibly go for a variance. We got an application for the variance and it's 22 pages long. We need to do certified letters and 15 copies and all that, which I'm sure you're aware of. But we realize that this is a bigger issue than just getting my shed in, because keeping it at an R150, my property, I would not be able to extend my deck. I would not be able to extend my driveway. We had some plans for extending the driveway, making the deck a little bit bigger. But based on being in an R150, my land use is up. I have 20% land use and it would be all done. So we're just wondering how we should proceed forward with this.
Paul, you want to shed some light on it? Or can you shed some light on it?
I think it sounds like the trouble is that where he would have to put his shed with the required setbacks, it interferes with the use of his backyard. So to me, I would apply for a variance and seek relief from the Board of Adjustment for that. I think looking at the zoning is going to be a more extended and longer process. This is something that has to be studied by the planning board and the town council. Quite honestly, it's got to be a master plan report done to determine what the zoning should be in the alternative. So that would be my recommendation. It sounds like the siting of the shed in accordance with the setback requirements are going to create a hardship for this particular property owner, and they should seek a variance. That's just my take on it from listening to them tonight.
Mayor,
Right, so
if I can add to what Paul just said, unfortunately, there's nothing this council can do on an individual property basis. We can't say, hey, you're right. We can pass this motion and let you build what you want to build. That's what variances are for, to say you have a hardship and you need to file. And I understand it can be an onerous process with a lot of paperwork and some escrow fees and things like that. But unfortunately, as Paul said, basically what we just did tonight regarding warehouses, we'd have to do for this zone. First, it'd have to go to the planning board and they'd have to study it to decide if it actually is an incorrect zone. And then it'd have to come back to the township. The township would have to notice everyone who lives in the zone and within 200 feet. And I'm looking at the map right now. And in addition to the 40 property owners, you said there's quite a few more. And then we'd have to do first and second reading of an ordinance. So I think we're talking a 3 to 4 month minimum. That's assuming that the board and the council, when they study the area, I didn't leave in the time for study. So we're talking maybe 6 months before this would get done. So unfortunately, that's the only legal mechanism. They can study it and potentially change it, but it would be 4 to 6 months. That's what variances are for. Unfortunately, that's kind of, I think your only avenue. Well, right. And the town doesn't have any jurisdiction to override what's in the zoning. That's why the planning board does the master plan, and they say this zone should be this way. And so we can't on a case by case say, you're right, we're looking at your property. Even if they agreed with you, they legally are not able to do that.
So the issues I have is that when I look at my neighbors, they all have the sheds probably tighter against the line where I would like to get it. My immediate neighbor to the right here, he's got it. Just put it in a couple of years ago and had no issue with this. And now all of a sudden, I'm being held to a 20 by 20, off the property line, which puts it in the middle of my lot. And again, if I want to extend my driveway, it's another variance. If I want to extend the deck, it's another variance. I think this is like an unending thing until it's corrected. The big thing about the variance is it's like you said, it's going to take months to do, even on my own. And I have a shed coming in like 4 weeks. So that's where I'm stuck.
We feel like we're being held to an unfair standard, considering all of our neighbors have sheds within 5 feet of the property. If you went through our entire neighborhood, you would see so many people out of compliance with the township standards, according to this zoning and land use. And now all of a sudden we are being singled out and we can't even put in a shed. We've lived here 26 years and we have never applied for a permit other than electrical. And this is the first time we've ever applied for any type of permit to improve our property. And now we can't. And now we have to wait months and months, possibly.
Well, I didn't say that the variance would take months. The variance would only take potentially one meeting. You have to file it in advance, so I'd probably say 2 months. But just to clarify, the township changing the zone, which you say is the overriding problem, that's what would take 4 to 6 months. So that's why I said the variance
and-
would be the fastest way, even though it is by no means fast.
Yeah,
By
it's
the
not
way,
gonna
there's
be
no
fast.
there's no guarantee that the study would conclude that the lot sizes should change there. That's also should be stated.
Yes.
So that's why
It's just
we're,
funny that on the rejection, it says my lot does not meet the minimum requirement for this zone. What do I do about that? Will I ever get by that rejection?
I don't
That
think
was
that's
one
the
of the
issue. I think,
issues.
where did you want to site the shed on your property? How far from the property line?
It was like 7 foot from my neighbor and 12 off the back.
Yeah, and that's the source of the rejection, in my opinion, because I
That
did
plus
look
it says
at
it didn't meet the minimum requirement lot size. I could show you the documentation if you'd like to see it. How do I change that? Will I ever get by that?
You would need a variance. That's the only way to get by that.
A variance to say that my lot size was built with a house that was 0.68 acres and it's not 1.5 acres. It just, it's absurd. And when I look around the neighborhood, and there's one with a shed 20 feet off both property lines, and it's very frustrating.
And it had nothing to do with the size of the shed? Did he indicate that at all?
No,
No,
nope.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I talked to Pam, 10 by 24? Is
No.
that accurate?
no, 12 by 16.
12 by 16? Okay. I don't know where I come up with that. But, okay.
I think, hey, Mayor, just to jump in, because I do serve as zoning officer in 2 towns, and I also help the zoning officer in another town. I'm not so sure if the lot area should be really an issue for Pam and Stephen. Typically what happens if you have an undersized lot, usually accumulate too much impervious coverage. And that could end up, if you end up putting some more impervious coverage because the lot's undersized, could create a variance that way. But I'm not sure in this particular case, that should be a variance. The setbacks certainly are an issue. So I just would throw that out there. And Mayor, just to maybe throw this out there, and I've helped out other residents, if they need my help in helping to fill out the application to try to expedite this and get it before the board, I would throw that out and try to help them out so they can maybe get this expedited. So I just offer that tonight.
Legally, at this point, I believe it's about the only thing we can offer them at this point.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, that's where we're.
yeah. So I can help you, Steve and Pamela, with that. I'll be fine. I'd be glad to help you.
Okay, it's just, if we had plans to build the deck and extend the driveway, that won't happen the way we're zoned now with that impervious land usage.
I might suggest that if you have those plans and they're somewhat immediate plans, you might want to put them all in one application,
Yep.
file it all at once, try to get all that approved, save you time, money. And if they're, someday I'm going to do that, that obviously is harder to do. But if you say, in the next year, I'm going to do that, I'd try to do that, try to save you some.
Okay, that's what we're hoping in the next year.
I agree with Katrina totally. And just so you know, the zoning board of adjustment who would hear this application really has no business right now. So I think you can get in there quickly and get this done if you file the application.
Okay,
Call me if you need help.
all right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Lori, anyone else?
Yes, we do. Courtney Torres.
Hi,
Courtney, how are you?
good. How are you?
Good.
I am glad to hear that we're planning on, hopefully the pool in the next year or two. But just to show support for the town, we did have to go to Regal Ridge because they were open last summer. And a thought of just possibly raising the membership fees. And, I'm sure you've thought about it, but
Yes.
getting, when people do join, Regal Ridge was just under $500 for a family for out of town. And because of COVID, they opened late, but on a regular season, it's over $500 a family for out of town. So, we're willing to pay that because we love to see, other family there. And so, and it's a social, aspect of our kids' summer. So I hope, if raising, fees a little bit would be something to help out in that budget. I'm not quite sure, but,
Trust
we're
me,
willing to pay.
as you probably heard me say before, I mean, 63 years old. All 63 years have been spent here in Lopatcong. That pool was an integral part of my growing up here. Friends, family, and whatnot. And again, as you also heard me say, we're looking at all the numbers. That's our responsibility as your council to take a look at everything. We just, we can't run blind. That pool has become a community service. It's no longer a moneymaker.
Sure.
But again, we're looking at it. Whenever times like this crop up, then everybody says how willing they are to support the pool, and that's great. But we need that support if we're even going to entertain what we're looking at right now. So
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather spend that money here,
You know what?
away.
Here's what I would tell the residents. You got the word out to get to us tonight. I'm telling you to get the word out because we'd like to save it, but we're not going to do it without your help.
Great. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Laura.
Okay, next, Becky.
Hi, this is Becky Johnson, 361 Stonehenge Drive. I appreciate what you just said, Mayor Mangucci, about, I've heard, we're looking at all the numbers, and I know the pool was an integral part of your childhood. I just want to be on the record, putting my 2 cents in encouraging the support of it, whether we have to do a Save Our Pool campaign, look for corporate sponsorships. The Lopat swim team is a devastating strike to them. And they have built so many swimmers for our high school team, of which my children are members of, and my children have been lifeguards as well. So just adding my 2 cents in support of, leaving no stone unturned, and appreciate all you're doing to move forward with that.
Certainly appreciate your input. Thanks for calling.
Okay, Richard McCormick.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard. My name is Richard McCormick. I live at 234 Arbor Drive in Stewartsville. I'm the president of the Lopatcong swim team. And I certainly want to echo all the comments that were made tonight in support of the pool. Especially want to thank young Joe Curry for his comments. I think for a man of that age, for him to be able to sum up his experiences and his feelings for that pool is really just remarkable. And I really appreciate Joe speaking up on behalf of the swim team. I've been part of the Lopat pool since 2002, when my oldest son, one of my oldest of 4, joined the swim team. I've been around swimming all of my life, as well as my wife, that she has 2. I've had, like I said, 4 kids go through that program. I currently have an 8th grader that would be on the swim team again this year, if we're able to figure out a place where we'll be able to hold practice. I am a little bit confused by the comment that there was only 60 some memberships or pool passes or pool memberships purchased recently. I mean, I know from the swim team, we have approximately 75 or so families.
I believe that was, not to interrupt you, I believe that was 62 residents of Lopatcong.
Gotcha.
So
that's not pool memberships then. Okay, so that
Correct.
makes me feel a little bit better. Thank you for clarifying. Anyway, I think the overall, I think my overall comment would be is, if we could use this as an opportunity. I mean, I don't doubt that there's a consensus amongst at least you, Mr. Mayor, and hopefully the rest of the members of council, that this is at least worth taking a look at. And if there were, if there is a way to make it work financially, that having a modernized Lopatcong pool would be, I think is recognized, would be a tremendous asset, continuing to be a tremendous asset to the community. And I think you need to look around at other townships in the area that have, within the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, that have made significant investments in their township pools, like Palmer in Pennsylvania. I think Nazareth Borough, even Belvedere put a significant amount of money in their pool recently. And I don't have that information at my fingertips, but the general consensus, I believe, is that those townships are very happy with how those pools have performed, and more so just the service that those pools provide to their communities. So I think as you look at this big ominous number that may or may not be, I think you got to look at that. This is not, Lopat wouldn't be the first town that would go down this road, and other towns have studied it, and they've decided that there are certainly ways to make it financially viable.
Just let me tell you this, that up until a couple of years ago, I was very proud of the fact that the Lopat pool was never closed. Alpha closed for a time, and now that's gone. Phillipsburg had closed for a time. They're back up and running it waiting for a new, whatever they're doing over there. And Belvedere, which is a year older than or a year younger than our pool. Those two pools were built in 67 and 68 by the same company. They're mirror images of each other. They were closed for probably a year or two. So we were really the only pool in the area that was never closed.
Right, and if you look at Belvedere as an example, right, they hit the bullet, so to speak, and they've relined their pool. They modernized the plumbing system, and I think if you were to visit that pool today, you'd be impressed with, just first of all, how well the pool, how great it looks. The water quality is excellent, which has always been somewhat of a recent challenge for us in terms of the cloudiness. But I think that's a good example of a community that came together and was able to come up with the funds to be able to make the necessary repairs. And I understand the budget issues. I'm painfully aware of those. So I guess, just to sum it up, I just want to voice my support of not only for me and my family personally, but also on behalf of the Lopatcong swim team. I'd also like to volunteer my time as well, much like Coach Drake has offered to do. I think between the two of us, we've got lots of experience and knowledge around the operations and running of a pool. And we would certainly be willing to participate in any kind of committee or group that would be willing to listen to our input.
Our DPW supervisor has asked somebody to come in. I can certainly recommend a couple of names. As I said, with my full-time job, I just went through it with the pool at the Phillipsburg Elementary School. Of course, that's an indoor pool. It's a whole different ballgame, but obviously those same people do outdoor pools. So we can certainly get some information together from these different entities, and we can go from there. And again, it's boils down to numbers, like everything else in this world. So, but we're willing to.
And I think you mentioned running it like you run your township like a business. This has got to be run like a business, right? So it's at some point in time, it's got to be modernized and it's got to be brought up to the level where some of the other surrounding townships have already done that, right? So if somebody's looking at joining a pool, they want to join a 50-year-old pool that had minimal updates done, at least cosmetic. They don't have zero entry. You've got sliding boards. You've got there's just so much more that goes into a pool today than basically just an L shape. And I think that's those are all things that need to be looked at.
As you well know, people always comment on how nice your house is. They'll never tell you how good your foundation is. But without the foundation, you can't build a house.
Exactly.
So, I have, obviously the plumbing and whatnot. I can paint it, sandblast it, do anything I want. If the plumbing's shot, I got a problem. So I hear you.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your input. Appreciate it. Lori, anyone else?
Yes, the Belfi family.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Mike Belfi here and Donna Belfi at 16 Anna Place. And we just want to, in the same vein as what we're hearing from other members, just to express our support for the pool and our willingness to help, to get involved. So, I think some of what we heard tonight was that there will be a committee or something built to put together to take a look at this. So I think maybe the community, how can they get involved, right? What can the community do? How is the community being notified? These are some of the things that I think would help to figure out, right? I mean, we have a lot of people on the call tonight. Everybody's, in support of the pool. How can we, as a community, get involved? What does that look like? Raising funds for doing a Save the Pool, as some of other people on this call have stated earlier. So, how do you see the community really to be able to get involved? Because I think there is a lot of support for the pool, but there may be maybe some lack of communication, but also like just awareness in the community that this is an issue. But then also, what can the residents do to help out?
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, obviously, we are a township of roughly around 9,000 people. You would think we'd be able to keep a community pool afloat, for lack of better terminology. I'm not trying to be funny, but reach out to me, and we'll see. Maybe I get one of the other council members to join me on some sort of a committee to find out what your ideas are to save the pool. Obviously, ours is finances and safety and whatnot to operate that pool. So we can certainly, again, I'll just reiterate again, we are looking at it.
Okay, I have just iPhone.
Yes, go ahead, iPhone.
Where'd they go? Okay, go ahead. Trying to unmute them. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. I didn't know there was two iPhones. My name's Joanne Petty. I'm at 2 Briarstone Avenue. I have a two-part question. One, did you say you found the crack in August of last year?
No, what I said was we had a crack a couple of years ago that we had found. We were losing, I think it was 5,000 gallons a day out of that pool. And as the other gentleman referred to the pool water being cloudy, it's almost impossible to keep your pool water right if you're putting, if you're putting 5,000 gallons of water back in. Not only want to warm up, but obviously the chlorine loss and whatnot with that kind of a leak. So we had it fixed for 2019. We were good. Last year it was filled in August under my direction because it was closed due to the COVID, and I did not want anybody thinking that we were going to open it. I could have put water in it in June and people might have been saying, hey, when are you going to open the pool? But when we did put water in it, we lost a lot of water.
When you found out that there was a crack though, why are we waiting until just now to go ahead about scheduling somebody? Why not back in August? Could we have tried to schedule somebody for the upcoming season so this could have been avoided for this season?
We're not sure that there's a crack in it. We have called people in, so we're not sure that there's a crack in it. Every indication to me is there's a crack somewhere, because if you fill a pool, it should hold the water regardless of whether you're using it or not. And it has lost a ton of water.
Okay. And my other question is the warehouse. I know you're saying about money wise that we lost a lot for the pool, but the warehouses, aren't we supposed to be getting some kind of kickback from having these big warehouses for our township, for going towards things of the community and stuff? Or is that not?
So I can answer that. First, I would say we don't like to use the word kickback because that means we got something we weren't entitled to or illegally. But I understand what you're saying. Shouldn't there be money into the community? So far, we only have one warehouse, the big one out on Route 22, that has a CO, which means they only recently in the last 2 weeks got that CO. I know everyone sees trucks coming and going out of that property and they think that means that the big one in the front in Lopatcong is operational. It is not. Those are trucks coming from Phillipsburg, from their warehouses. There's White Claw back there and a bunch of other things that they've been filling their warehouses. So just recently, in the last 2 weeks, did the Ingersoll Rand front piece get a CO. So as of April 1st, that will trigger a new tax payment. So the town will start to get some revenue. Reminded that only 19% of that money, well, this is a pilot, so it's a little different, but even when the money comes in, some goes to the county and the school. But so that warehouse, we should start to see money. The only other money we got from that warehouse is designated affordable housing trust fund money, which we are only allowed to use, as the name suggests, for affordable housing. We did get a significant amount of money for that, which is required under the law. The other building on Strikers Road that's currently being built is currently being built. So we don't get, there's no CO for that. There's no, that one's not under a payment in lieu of taxes. That's a regular tax, but we're not able to tax it yet. So potentially in a year or two, as things open up, we will be able to, but at this time, we haven't seen any money from any of these new developments.
Okay, I was just curious to ask about it. Been a resident here for 4 years now, and my daughters love the pool, and I have a few of my daughter's friends are on the swim team, and they're devastated by the pool not being opened up. So that's why I asked the beginning question, if there was something wrong with the pool last year, why didn't try to get fixed? But I'm hoping that it does get open for just not the kids. The kids have been through a lot this past year or two with the schools being closed and with the learning experience. So I would try to think like this summer they could have had a glimpse of hope. So, but that's just all I have to say.
All right, we certainly appreciate your input.
Thank you.
One of my councilmen, I don't know whether we can do this or not, but can we make the pool part of the recreation committee? That way people could join the recreation committee and we can.
Yeah.
So
good.
Mr. Polito has come up with that idea, which I think is a fairly good idea as long as we can do it legally. And Mr. Wright has agreed to serve with me on taking a look at the pool. I mean, I can't promise you any more than that at this point. We would be more than willing to take a look at it, get some numbers together for you to show you where we're at, and you can tell me where you'd like to be. So we can go from there. Lori, is there anybody else?
Oh, yes. Isabella?
What do we have out there?
I've got 3 more with their hands raised. I have a comment that I have to read to you. I have myself. I don't know who else is going to come up, but Isabella can go now.
Please do.
Isabella? I'm trying. Maybe she stepped away. Christina, do you want to go?
Hi, yes. This is Christina Russo. I reside at 152 Stonehenge. I am a former resident of Warren Heights. I recently just purchased a home on Stonehenge Drive. I can tell you with certainty that Warren Heights pool is not opening this year. And that's causing a lot of people to leave and purchase homes in hopes of getting their own pools. I know we all scrambled last year and we're hopeful Lopat pool was going to open for our children. Many of us, including myself, ended up purchasing memberships at Harker's Hollow. Some families within Warren Heights also purchased memberships at Belvedere Pool. So I just want to let you know that there are many people that appreciate Lopat Pool and are hopeful and that it's going to open again. I know that when you did fill it up in August, we all had our fingers crossed thinking that it was going to open and we were wondering what was going on. Not until now, today, am I hearing exactly what's going on with the pool. And I just want to, piggyback on what everyone else is saying. You do have a large community, I think, that we utilize the pool, and it's hopeful that, we could find it in the budget and find resources to pay for whatever needs to be fixed and get it open again.
All right.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Rose.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
My name is Rose Wovna, and I live at 206 Arbor Drive in Stewartsville. I would just like to go on record as supporting doing whatever we can to open the Lopatcong pool this year, but at least definitely by next year. I am also the Lopatcong swim team president. And as said before, the Lopatcong pool is our home pool. We have always consistently had over 100 kids and or 50 plus families who pay pool memberships every summer. Many of the kids go on to participate in the Little Liners recreation swim clinics. And as said before, the Phillipsburg High School varsity swim teams. So this is a great program that we've had for over 50 years. Knowing how to swim as children increases public safety by decreasing drowning risks and combats childhood obesity, which I think is definitely worth any price. The pool has been home to the Recult program. I know you mentioned the summer dances may or may not happen, movies at the pool, Zumba classes, all really great things to help maintain our physical health throughout our community. And with the swim team, we have a pool of volunteers to pull from. So I'm just asking to look into it, tell us what needs to be done, and at least we can try to do it. The pool's a vital community resource, and especially during the pandemic when we are encouraged to spend more time outdoors, to safely socialize, exercise, and improve our physical and mental health. And now we're told we're not going to have a pool this year. So it's really been a big letdown. So I respectfully ask the Township Council to please diligently see what needs to be done to the pool and tell us what to do, and we'll be right there to help. Because I really don't want this pandemic to take away one more thing from our children or our community.
Rose, I appreciate your comments, and I know the children have suffered greatly. Again, I keep referring to my job. I'm around the schools all day. We certainly need to get the kids back in school so they have some sort of normalcy. And obviously, with the pool being open during the summer, that would be all right, I think. So again, I've said it to many of you people that have called in tonight. We're going to look into it. And that's it.
Okay, I have a comment to read.
Sure.
This is from Jason Stucker. Okay, good evening. This is Jason Stucker, 512 Cromwell Street. I apologize for not being able to make a vocal comment at this meeting. I'm out of town for work, and the hotel bandwidth is unacceptable. I want to voice my disappointment with the decision to not open the township pool this upcoming season. Our township park and pool are the cornerstone community activity. By not reopening the pool, our families lose a much needed place for outdoor activity. Our town loses an asset that has been around since 1967. And on a more personal level, my children lose their beloved local swim team and summertime employment. As a side note, I have my own pool and still sign up for a pool membership so my kids can participate on the swim team. After hearing your comments, I like your ideas to get estimates of the repairs and more of a cost analysis. It also pleases me to hear council support for the pool. Just please don't give up on one of the few assets our town possesses.
All right.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Let me see. Is there anyone else who has public comment? I don't see anyone else, so I will go. Oh, wait, no. Sean, go ahead.
Hello, Sean Leahy, 42 Kyle Drive here on Lopatcong. Just three comments that are quick, one statement and a question. Thank you, Katrina, for reading those 9 pages. That was exhilarating. And to you, Mayor Mengucci, for being transparent and putting your cell phone out in the world. That was amazing. So I also want to thank the DPW for getting the fields ready. The LAA, we're obviously going into our spring season, and the fields, you know, we didn't have a season last year, and they did an amazing job. Bickler, DeMassey, Brian Weeks, Racy, the whole team. Thank you very much for getting that ready to go. It wasn't an easy task, and they did it quickly, and I just want to say thank you. My statement is about the movies in the park. I worked with Mr. Polito and Mrs. Chesla last year, Jim and Lori, to put the movies on in the park. And if there is, I haven't gotten board approval of this, so I'll just be representing myself as a person, not the LAA. But I will volunteer to do the movies again this year if that's going to help out. I know that you know, I'm not on the recreation committee, but that was something I actually enjoyed. I like cartoons, and it was nice getting out. So I really want the movies in the park to go on. I know Lori is extremely busy, as is Mr. Polito. So I'll officially volunteer to be the person that does the movies in the park if that is agreed upon by council. And then I've been working with Mr. Nixon at the Veterans Rally Point. He doesn't have a website. My son developed a website for him. It's in process. So he's just kind of given the reins over to my son to do that. And thank God, because I don't know how to do that myself. So with that being said, we were discussing QR readers. And if anyone doesn't know what a QR reader is, that's you take your smartphone, has little black dots, and you can read a menu. Most people do it at restaurants. But we wanted to put some QR readers up at the Veterans Rally Point within the Rally Point. And I want to know what the process was to what I need to do in order to make that happen. It will be privately funded. And they basically just in short, anyone could go up there, take their phone out, and hear the stories of our residents that have been in the military, and that just their service, all veterans. And that could be something that we could possibly launch into the rest of the park. There's a lot of great Eagle Scout projects that have gone up there, the bat boxes. There's no reason why when you're walking along the path, you couldn't just read one of these things and have it tell a story and the history of Lopatcong. It's a great walking trail. And it's just something that I'd like to use as a kind of a pilot program. Mr. Nixon is on board with it, but I didn't know what the process was to making that become a reality. So
these QR readers, Sean, how would they be mounted, and how many are we talking? And are we talking every 6 feet, 10 feet, 50 feet? What are we talking?
Well, just we wanted to just use them at the Veterans Rally Point, just within that structure, in that little part of the park, just to make sure that it works and is getting used. And then at that point, if it seems successful, then we could put them. I don't think these things, the last thing I want to do is make that a grass cutting nightmare where you have these things everywhere. But I'm just talking, I don't even know, every couple hundred yards, along this long path. Just I don't know. It's just something that I think that would be, and I've seen it in other parks that just kind of tell the story of the park you're in, the community you're in. They could be sponsored, and I just think it'd be a great project for our kids to get involved with. And we already have the first 3 paid for. So,
where have you seen these, Sean? I'd almost like to see what they look like.
Colorado. So if you want to, we can fly out there. I'm told there's some out in Forks, but I'm not sure. How about this? I'll do more research to show you exactly where they are. But
even a picture of what they look like or where they're at. That's fine. I don't need to go physically see one. I'm just curious, because you're right. Every time I see something like this, it's a nice thing, but and not to be negative, but it is something else to cut around. And there's also the opportunity for vandalism, and we've had vandalism in that park.
Yes.
But again,
I've seen it firsthand.
it's so I mean, it's a great suggestion. Obviously, we honor our vets at Memorial Day, Veterans Day. We have the rally point. So I think this township's done a great job in honoring its veterans. So anyway, okay. Certainly appreciate your input. What else have you got for us?
That's it. That was just that was it. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Okay, I'll piggyback off of Sean there. Thanks for the intro. So I had, as you know, Lori Chesla, 12 Meadowview Drive. I resigned from the Recreation Committee at the end of last year. Last year was kind of a weird year with COVID. We couldn't do as much. We were able to get music in the park out and movies at the park. We did it at the park because the pool wasn't open. If you are going to do that, I think I sent you an email earlier this year with some of the movies that, had I still been on Recreation Committee, I would have ordered. If you want us to order them, we can. I don't know if you have that in the budget. I think we're also looking at, Sean was using his movie screen, so I don't know if you were going to purchase one. The one he was using that was his was very cheap, so it'd be easy to get your own for that. That's just something to consider. I had been, with music in the park, we start getting requests and start booking bands like early. So I started booking bands before I resigned. So right now you are almost fully booked. So hopefully there's money in the budget. Going back to what Joe Pryor had said, I did apply for the grant last year.
Yep.
So you should be getting money this year, hopefully more than we got last year. So that should help. But the one thing I do need to know is who exactly is going to kind of oversee this stuff now, because now it gets to the rough part where they need to be invoiced and everything needs to be invoiced on time and checks need to be cut. So I'm not sure which council member wants to take it, or
You take a look at our CFO's office. I mean, you know, if there's a question of running a checkup, I could certainly do that, except for nights when I have a meeting on a Wednesday or a planning board meeting on a Wednesday. So,
right.
But we can, you know, we can work something like that. I don't see why that's all that big a deal, but it's like everything else. It takes a few minutes
Right.
to do.
So I can
again,
send you what we have and the contact information, and then what I can do is send them an email and tell them they need to send their invoice, and then from there, maybe the CFO's office can go back and forth with them.
I see why we couldn't cut a check and somebody can run it up. I mean, usually one of the
Yeah.
council people's around, I'm around. Somebody can certainly do that. And music in the park is something that's one of the things I've seen growing. I don't see as many people showing up for movies at the, you know, we call it movies at the pool. Nor did I see many people, you know, I saw less and less people showing up at the pool, but I'm willing to kickstart something if we can do it. The music in the park, I think that's, you know, people love that park. They love the music. People go to music venues, you know, all week long. Phillipsburg has theirs on a Thursday. We got ours on a Wednesday. Other places, I think there's another thing in Phillipsburg with the classic car shows at Joe's Steak. So music is something that seems to be something that everyone enjoys. So I see that growing. And if I was going to spend money to increase something or get, you know, better bands or whatnot, that would be it.
Okay.
So we've had some good bands up there, and they bring their own crowds. I think where we're missing some money is, you know, are we selling water, or could we sell hot dogs to him? That's a whole nother. And again, it takes volunteers. So, you know.
Right. So that's what I'll do is I'll send you, like, I'll put all that and I'll CC you. And I think Jim Polito is the liaison. So I'll get that. And then once they know that they have to send the invoice, then Jenny can go, or Kim can go back and forth with them, because that's the part that's a little time consuming.
Yep.
What else did I have? So I wanted to thank you for, again, passing the warehouse ordinance. As you know, the county put together a study on the traffic, and it's horrific implications if everything is built up. So, I mean, people need to be proactive and do quality planning, which, you know, you're attempting to do, and we'll see how that all works out. With the veterans, so with the QR codes, there's a bunch of things you could do. If you're worried about the grass, perhaps the QR codes could even be put around the rally point itself, since that's also right there. I mean, going with the rally point, I mean, that's
not to be negative, Lori. My job is building and grounds maintenance. You know, the more you got to cut around, the more you got to. It's, you know,
yeah,
like everything else. And while I think we've done a lot to honor our veterans, we can certainly look into something like this. I need some information as to who, what, where, when, and, you know, again,
Right.
who's going to take care of it. It's nice to have all these things, but then you need to maintain them. So
another area where you could use the QR codes is on the signage coming into the pool. That might be something where you can, if you put a QR code there, it could link to the music schedule. It could link to the movie schedule. We have signs there already, so they could possibly be attached to that. You should have your new website in a month, so then that will all be settled. It's just something to look into, because I know part of the issues we're having is like, where is the information and where can people find it? And we don't have a sign at the park where you can change things. So if you had a QR code, they can just scan it, and that can be updated on the website instead of updating signage all the time. So that was another thing. With the pool, so if with the grant, I certainly don't want any money. Sean and I both received the information on that grant, as well as because of our involvement with the LAA. So we were talking offline, and we can take a look at the grant and see how complicated it is and see if we can pull it together. I can also call around the county, because I know there are some grant writers floating around here, and see if there's any way to get that money. That grant application is due May 24th. So within the next couple of weeks, we could figure out if we can pull that off or if we need help. And if it seems like there's a lot of people that want to help with the pool, I think we all do. it is a huge part of the community. So however you want to try to get people together, we can post something on Facebook, you can put it on the website, and we can try to get people together
Jim
to
Polito
figure
had
it
a great-
out.
Jim Polito had a great idea with the rec committee. I don't, you know,
Yeah.
we had a lot of people on the rec committee, so be it. You know, so.
And then you can also have like more people. I just think back to when we did the fundraiser for the Southwick family. We
Yes.
managed to pull everybody together. And I think right now you see a lot of passion for the pool. So I think you could probably pull everybody together and see if we can get somewhere. Like I said, Sean and I will take a look at the grant application because we also received it. And we'll see how complicated it is, and see if we can knock that off. Because I know that's a lot of people are talking about the pool, and it is not, I don't want to like talk about any other towns, but I've been talking with some towns and kind of know whether or not they're going to be opening their pools, and if they are. And another thing might be is if we can't get this one open, is there the ability to reach out to other communities to see if we can get some kind of discount or whatever for our residents? And you know, because we always say Lopat is a people helping people community. I feel the county is the same way. We're all neighbors, so maybe we can do something, but I'll take that offline with you because some people have reached out to me.
Lori, I have a question for you. You know, of course, we have a pool here. I'm no longer on the HOA, but my neighbor is. And 3 weeks ago, the protocols that we would have had to put in were really draconian. I don't know, have they let up on that, or?
I don't know. It feels like the rules
We
change
would've
all
had
the
to have
time.
a COVID coordinator and all this stuff, and you know, it was just stupid. And what, you know, people keep focusing on this pump last year or the leak or whatever it was. I mean, the problem was the COVID protocols. 2 people in the bath, no more than 2 people in the bathroom, things like that. Who was going to monitor that? Our attorney here at the HOA said we were crazy. So to me, whatever needs fixing, we can get fixed. The problem is how are you going to run the thing?
Right. And that I don't know. I mean, you would have to talk to the county board of health about that. And I don't know if some of that.
The protocols are changing by the day here.
Yeah.
Now we're opening things and the reinfection rate is up. I have no idea what the state's doing.
Listen, that's a good point, Joe. And it's another reason for, you know, next year, because I don't know that we're equipped to handle the COVID protocols.
Yeah, I got a feeling after everybody gets vaccinated, this will.
Yeah, I honestly believe that. I believe
turn
that.
away, but right now we're still in the middle of all this.
Well, and it's kind of ironic that New Jersey is the worst in the nation, yet we're opening up more and more. I don't quite get that, but you know, that's up for our fearless governor.
The only
So
thing
it
I'd
is,
say
is it a
maybe ask
leak
another
or is
town.
it COVID? Like what's going on? I feel like we started this meeting with, there was a big leak and now it's COVID. Like, it would be really nice to get like a, you know, a true answer of what's going on with this pool.
First of all, I do not have a true answer for you, but I can tell you that my eyes tell me that there's a big leak in that pool. As I said earlier, we are bringing someone in to take a look at it, to give us some guidance onto what we need to do with the pool. COVID is just another thing. It's the leak. I'm not going to fill a pool and put chemicals in it and have 5,000-10,000 gallons a day go out of it. It's just it's where it's at right now.
So what we'll do, if you just, whatever you want us to post out there for getting people together, because, you know, if there is, you know, if you get grant money and if maybe eventually you can get reimbursed from COVID, are you able to keep it open for a couple more years before you figure out what to do with it? Just let me know whatever you want to post out there.
I would
And
encourage
then,
people to join the recreation committee, that we can obviously go from there.
okay, so I don't know, Stacy wanted to say any more, then I have Dennis, and then I'll read a comment from Mayor Joe Kennedy.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Dennis?
Yes.
You with us?
Just wanted to address the one thing that Mr. Pryor just mentioned. Both at Belvedere from July through August, and then at the Y from September all the way up until this point, Pools have been able to run, and I've been a large part of those pools in terms of organized activities for kids. They've been able to run successfully with COVID mitigation procedures. And a lot of the families and a lot of the swimmers in this area, those are rules that are easy to enforce. And a lot of the families that have already been to the pools, they've been conditioned. They would know, what are the procedures that we followed at the Y? What are the procedures we followed at Belvedere? And so even though that's a concern, it's something that I think that a lot of the aquatic professionals in the area are used to.
Yeah, I hear you. So,
All right, thanks, Dennis. Anyone else?
Lori has one to read.
Yeah, I have from Mayor Joe Kennedy in Belvedere. He states that in the event the Lopatcong pool is not able to open, the Belvedere Pool Committee is offering their family rate of $250 per family for this year until we're able to get our pool open.
All right, thank you. I talked to Mayor Kennedy earlier today, so.
Yeah, like I said, this county is a people helping people county as well, as I've been seeing.
All right, anything else?
I don't
Lori?
think there's anybody else.
Okay, hearing that, a motion to adjourn?
make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you very much.